Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for the first match of the Bledisloe Cup, as well as in a rugby championship that has been heating up every single round. 2 wins, 2 losses. That is the way the 4 sides sit. And now at Eden Park, with a streak on the line and a valiant Wallabies side coming to take it, this is going to be an outstanding game between these two teams. Looking through at New Zealand's starting lineup, they have gone pretty similar up front compared to what we saw up against South Africa in their record loss, with the exception of a bit of a change in the locking duo and, of course, the return of a very capable hooker. Ethan Agut as the number 1. Cody Taylor slots in at 2, so that is rather than Samisoni Taukei'aho, who will make his way off of the bench. Tyrell Lomax, he takes that spot as the number 3, Fabian Holland, alongside Tupavai in the locking duo. No Scott Barrett for this game due to a shoulder injury. So it does mean we see Holland for the first time in that number 4 jersey for the All Blacks. And Tupavai, he remains in the locking duo. Now, there were maybe speculations that had Barrett not been injured, he would have transitioned back to 6 for this game. But I don't think the loose forward trio were the problem in that last contest. In fact, I thought they did pretty well throughout the first half. So Satiti, Parker and Savia, they will once again be their loose forward trio. And also alongside that, we do see the captaincy going to Ardie Savia for this match due to the absence of it. Scott Barrett, 9-10. Cam Roigard returning to the first lineup for quite some time for that man. He is definitely a dangerous option for the All Blacks. They have been struggling in the halfback department with injuries of Roigard, Ratama, as well as Hotham. But most of those guys are now back. We actually see Cortez Ratama. He will be making his way off of the bench in this game. So no Finlay Christie, who did start at 9 for the last match up against the South Africans. I believe was Finlay's last start. But Cam Roigard partnering with Beauden Barrett, who needs a massive game here for New Zealand. Some aren't sure whether or not he is the man for the job at 10. But for now, he is there. And he will be partnering alongside his brother Geordie as that 10-12 combo. Billy Proctor, he slots in at 13, so no changes in the midfield for the All Blacks here, but there is a change in the back 3. Caleb Clark back into this All Blacks side, starting on that number 11 and left wing side. Leroy Carter moves to the right, and then Will Jordan, he moves from being the 14 last game to now 15 for this contest. Looking through at the starting lineup for the Australians, it is James Slipper, Billy Pollard, and Taniela Tupou. This will be James Slipper, 150th cap. So that man's been around for a long time. He's closing in on the most capped player of all time internationally. And he still seems to have a lot left in the tank, James Slipper. He hasn't really slowed down throughout the last few years. If anything, he's got that little bit more strategic with age and has really been an asset for the Australians. When it comes to those scrums, Nick Frost and Lukan Salakai-Lotto, they will be the locking duo for this contest. Of course, no Will Skelton due to him being back in France, but Salakai-Lotto, he brings that physicality. He is always one to keep an eye out for, and I do think that that will be a great test for Tupavai as well as Fabian Holland when it comes to those lineouts. Tom Hooper as the number 6 alongside Fraser McRae at 7 and Harry Wilson, the captain, slotting in at 8. Tate McDermott, he gets his 50th cap in the starting lineup, partnering with James O'Connor, which is a bit of a Reds throwback for Super Rugby. Lena Katau alongside Joseph Suali'i, that has been a dangerous duo all throughout this year. Corey Toole, Harry Potter, and Max Jorgensen as the number 15. That is due to the injury of Andrew Callaway, as well as the long-term injury of Tom Wright, meant that they needed a fullback. Jorgensen's done it before, hoping to do it again here at Eden Park. But in the chat, we have got quite a few messages already. We have got Nars Williams is here. We've got Daryl here too. We've got Matt who said, hey Hamish, let's go the ABs. And also we have got there who's getting carded. It's going to be Spicy Wallabies by 12. So yeah, Samuel, so you're going with a big win for the Wallabies. The thing is, Australia have not won on New Zealand soil since, I believe, 2001. But if they were to win, and they were to win by 12, that would be quite a statement for this Wallabies team. They have been talked about as one of the better sides that Australia have been able to put together for quite some time in terms of this season of the Rugby Championship, having 2 wins from their 4, 1 at home, 1 away, just like all of the sides pretty much throughout this competition. We have got there up the All Blacks, and we have got there also the ABs better be onto it today, or the Aussies can clean them up. It's going to be the hardest, or the AB's hardest test thus far. Says Mark there. And also, they aren't winning though. Keep the faith, Hamish, says Kiwi Rob. I was just reading out a prediction, Kiwi Rob. We're still a bit early to get the nerves going, aren't we? We have got there, so the odds are for us. No record stands forever. says Samuel. Yeah, although this Eden Park one does feel like it's gone on for an eternity. It's since before I was born. 1994, the last time the All Blacks lost at Eden Park. They had a good match up against the South Africans only a few weeks ago at this location. Good morning from South Africa, says Daniel. Hope you're doing extremely well. Hope you're excited for this match. I'm more nervous than a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Says Spencer. Are you live for the Black Ferns? We will be live for the Black Ferns games as well. They have got the bronze final up against France for the Women's World Cup. Quickly looking through at the benches for these two sides before we jump into some stats. But for New Zealand, they've got Samisoni Taukei'aho, Tamaiti Williams and Fletcher Null as that front row replacement option. Patrick Tuipulotu, he is a massive return for the Kiwis. Also with the fact that this game is at Eden Park, the location where he plays his regular Super Rugby for the Blues. But he brings such an impact. That kind of, I would say, stability and composure later on in a contest might be absolutely vital for New Zealand, definitely with the way that Australia have been finishing contests as of late. They are one of the best sides in the Rugby Championship, if not actually the best, for the last 20 minutes of a match, and they have scored more tries than anyone else throughout that time period. Peter Larkai, he will get his chance as the number 20 for this game. Cortez Ratama, Quintupai, and Damian McKenzie, so 3 Chiefs as the back replacements for this contest. In the Australian bench, they have got Brandon Paenga, Mosa, Angus Bell, and Alana Alatoa. So overall, starting front row solid for Australia, and also the guys coming off the bench are extremely solid as well. Jeremy Williams and Carlo Tazzano. I know that some were disappointed not to see Pete Samu's name on the team sheet today, but no Rob Valentini due to injury. Pete Samu came in as that injury cover, and just like New Zealand, Australia normally a little bit hesitant to give injury cover players the big opportunities. Instead, they do like to stick with who was in that initial squad. Ryan Lonergan, big chance for him. I can't believe this is his debut. He's been around for such a long time. He has played for Australia A, like I mentioned, back in actually the original Pacific Nations Cup days. But that man's been working hard, and he's always right about there. They always consider him as that third or fourth option. Oh, Joe Schmidt and Scott Robertson having a bit of a conversation there. There's supposed to be bad blood between those two. Or at least the media have made it that way, but they were just smiling, having a bit of a chat, looking up at the clouds, probably deciding whether or not it's going to rain for this contest or not. There's also supposed to be a little bit of breeze around for Eden Park today. We'll have to wait and see if that impacts the game at all. We have got there also Tane Ahmed and Filippo Dungunu. They are the last 2 replacements. Some wanted to see Dungunu in the starting lineup rather than off the bench, but he is still there. We'll still be able to bring an impact for the Australians as well. We have got there also all the pressure on New Zealand today, says Samuel, although I think there's a fair amount on Australia as well. We can't underestimate the fact that this Aussie side have now been ruled as one of the better Aussie teams that they have had as of late. They were able to beat South Africa in South Africa for the first time in a decade. They were able to beat Los Pumas in a close game for that first matchup. Argentina getting them in the second, but Australia still getting those 2 vital bonus points there. Hi from Montreal, says Mike, and hi, says Daryl. And All Blacks win by 14, says Roy. And as a South African, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I hope Australia wins, says LB. Are you sure? Because the thing is, right, if Australia win this game and then they win the next game, they actually probably win the Rugby Championship. For South Africa, their better chance of winning this whole competition is actually if New Zealand win here at Eden Park. Because you look at that points differential and you look at where South Africa are at the moment, they have got themselves a pretty substantial lead over the Kiwis for the points differential department. So if Australia were to win this game, and then if they were able to get themselves that bonus point win, it actually, it could put them in a good position. Although, to be fair, it's not expected for either New Zealand or Australia to win both their games with bonus points, whereas the pressure is on South Africa to do just that, to try and make up that extra point that Australia got in their last contest. But, yeah, it depends on how you look at it. You want a close game, and you'd have to argue that you want neither side to get those bonus points from a Springbok perspective to have the best chance. We have got there how long till the game starts. The game is kicking off in around 40 minutes, so we've still got a little bit of time. But, yeah, we'll have to wait and see exactly how it ends up going. We've got Josh Spiker said, morning, my friend. Welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. And be honest, what do you think Leroy Carter needs to do to keep a spot for next week, November test? Probably avoid injury, I would say, at the moment. They haven't really got anyone taking that number 14 jersey. Unless Amoni Narawa comes back, then it would be competitive between the 2 Chiefs wingers. But for now, they don't seem to be back in Reese. They don't seem to like having Will Jordan out on that right wing if they can put him at fullback. So stay match fit, have a carry or 2, and he's probably in there on the right wing for the November internationals And depending on the injury extent of other players, there might not even be much of a contest for who's going to be able to take that one. They are just showing there the outs, the players who did play last week who are not playing for this game. McAllister, Scott Barrett, Noah Hotham, Duplessis Karefi, Finlay Christie, and then also Ruben Love. They are the 6 players who did not get selected for this Eden Park Test match, even though they were playing for the next one. We've got their nice haircut. Hamish go the All Blacks. So here's Ken there. And sorry to come in late, but will you be screening the game? Sadly, we won't be able to show the match. That is due to licensing. Any match footage or audio would get us suspended and also copyright struck. On YouTube, we have got there how much out. Says Vaders, we are sitting 40 minutes away. In fact, less than 40 minutes now from when this one starts. Joss has said the best for South Africa is a draw, but nobody wants that. Says Joss. Yeah, see, I feel like for New Zealand, they want a capable or quite a large win here. Whereas Australia, they also want that win. I feel like a draw isn't awful, and to be fair, a draw would still help Australia a little bit because they'd still sit relatively high up with a decent points differential heading into their home match at Optus Stadium next week. But yeah, it's all down to what happens in that second Argentina-South Africa game and whether or not the Box can put it together in that one, as well as this match, of course, at home coming up in the near future. An awesome thank you, Hamish. Love the show. See it's Vader. And also we've got there Jameson who said, oh man, I was just getting ready to go to sleep. Looks like I'll be up for a couple more hours. Thanks, Hamish. Says Jameson. Good afternoon, Hamish and team lads. And bringing it home, Artie and the ABs, our All Blacks, by 3 converted tries. Yeah, see, it could be close. But I do have a feeling that if Australia don't get that big boost that they've had in the last 20 minutes of most of their games, that is where New Zealand could control it, but they'll be anticipating that last 20 to be absolutely insane. Mainly because of the fact that, you just have such a capable Wallaby side out there on the field. Like, I looked through at this lineup and I went, okay, close game. Looking like it's going to be on the cards. But whether or not that is the case, could be a whole different story. We have there, Legend Commentary Bro says Matthew, and there too, and Vroom Vroom over here. Absolutely absurd that this clashes with the AFL final. Just another classic organisation blunder from World Rugby. Says it's Razor. Yeah, I'm not too sure what the reasoning is behind it not being at 7:05. I assume that is to avoid an NRL clash, maybe. Or just because they want to get it out of the way a little bit earlier on in the day. And evening, Hamish. Great to see you in the formal attire. And World Rankings also, we need a good draw for 27. Says Samuel. I've been waiting for like 90 minutes for the AFL to start. Their build-up is so dangerously long. Says LB. And there too, but they are just showing a little bit of an interview with Beauden Barrett. Of course, that man has a huge amount of pressure on him. 5 in a row for the Panthers. Says David there. Now sitting 36 minutes away. What we will do, ladies and gents, I did show what is happening in terms of the Rugby Championship standings, but this is what is happening in the future. I'd mentioned about Argentina versus South Africa. Now, that game is not in Argentina. It is at Twickenham. So Argentina giving up that home field advantage to take on the Box on neutral territory. We could see the Rugby Championship lifted in England at the end of this competition. And to be fair, it might be the last time we see the Rugby Championship for a bit of time. Not scheduled for 2026. 2027, I believe we've got a shortened competition. So hopefully it goes down to the wire and every point is absolutely crucial heading into the final moments. I do see Geordie Barrett warming up off the kicking tee, so perhaps he will have it again in this contest. He was actually kicking in the game that New Zealand lost last up against Australia, and that was at Suncorp Stadium back in 2020, I believe, was the last time the Kiwis have lost to the Aussies in a test match. But the Bledisloe Cup, it is only a 2-match series. The first game at Eden Park, the second taking place in Australia. That is at Optus Stadium. Bit of a later kickoff compared to this one, an extra 5.5 hours on the clock there. How will the All Blacks respond after their big loss? 70% have said that they will be able to get themselves a win, whereas 25% have said that maybe Australia will be able to fire it back. But what we will do is we'll go like this. There we go. That is the record loss that we were talking about. 43 points to 10 up against the South Africans. Now, the week prior, they kept the Eden Park Test match streak alive, getting themselves the win by the 7 points. Now, that 7 points, it's substantial because earlier on in the Rugby Championship, we did see Australia lose a game by 8 points. That meant that they didn't get the bonus, and that could come back to bite them by the end of this competition. But South Africa sitting on the 10 points alongside New Zealand on the 10 for the overall standings. It just shows how much this competition really is on the line. New Zealand, they were within 7 up against the Argentines with their loss, their first ever in Argentina. So this has been an eventful rugby championship for the Kiwis. They have set records for all the wrong reasons. They are now, they have that loss in Argentina. They have now had their biggest ever losing margin on New Zealand soil. But the question is, can they have all of those bad records and turn it into a rugby championship win here? But to do that, they would need 2 wins, and they'd need them comfortably up against the Australians. That first match up against Argentina, they did pretty well, New Zealand. 41 points to 24, the end score in that one. So they need to try and channel a performance like that. But Australia, they will not make it easy. As you can see, 38 points to 22, that massive win. They were 22-0 down in that contest, coming back with 38 unanswered points, so setting a little bit of a record in their own right, Australia. 30 points to 22, that next contest up against the South Africans. Then from there, 2 extremely close games up against Argentina. 28 points to 24, the win in the first, and then 28 points to 26, the loss in the second. They tried to mount the late offense, a bit of a comeback, but it was just too little too late. They got themselves the 2 bonus points from that game, though, and they could be very substantial here. We have got there a bit of, I put a bit of cash on a draw. I think this one could be a close one. Says Vroom Vroom, it's Razor. And the thing is, Australia, this is nothing against the side, but they have got a pretty good skill of being very close to winning and then letting it slip through the fingertips up against New Zealand. Of the last 3 games that they have played, the score has been separated by 3 points in 2 of them. You look further back, they've had games that have been going down to 1 kick that hasn't been taken or a missed opportunity. And you just wonder whether or not do Australia have that killer instinct that they need to be able to beat New Zealand. And I would say with the way that they've been finishing games, if they are close, then absolutely. Because New Zealand have not been finishing their games in that same way that they have been earlier on. Bowden says there are things that need to change, but he doesn't actually say what they are. Is one, the aimless kicking by chance, says Jordan. Yeah, you look through at some of the stats. New Zealand, with the amount of carries that they've had throughout this rugby championship compared to other sides, they do not run the ball anymore, this All Blacks team. But if they change the tactic here and start trying to run it at Eden Park, I feel like that would be a lot more beneficial. The All Blacks are not a territory team. They are a get their hands on the ball and start running it and just keep on going. $100 on the Wallabies for me, first time in my life. I bet on the Aussies. That backline is a beast. Says Leighton there. You're sounding like you want Aussie to win, Hamish, says Kiwi Rob. So because I'm praising the Australians, it means that I'm all of a sudden going for them, I assume. But if I was just praising New Zealand, you'd say I'd sucking them off. So I've kind of got to balance it out a little bit, don't I? Or else it goes the opposite direction. We have got there, should be a cracking match, says JW. And also the Box get 2 bonus points each week and take it. But to be honest, that'll be hard. Argentina are so good. Says LB, yeah, the Argentines are such an unpredictable side. You never know what you're going to get with them. You're either going to get a world-class Pumas outfit, or you're going to end up with a side that look a little bit, I would say, incohesive at times. Something just seems to not work when they're having a bit of a problem. G'day, is there a delay? There is no delay whatsoever. The game is starting in 30 minutes' time at its scheduled original time. New Zealand's second half is the worst in the comp, says LB. McRide and Wilson will decide the game, and I don't see All Blacks losing 2 games in a row, says Lizard there. And also, if we lose, I'm blaming Jason Gunn and Thingy. And goodbye to your Bledisloe Cup and your Eden Park record. Any team can beat your All Blacks. Your time is up, says Richard. Of course, I am not the All Blacks myself, but I can pass on the message to the team that Richard says that they suck. We have got there, what is there on the line for you this game? Shaven eyebrows, nothing on the line whatsoever. We decided to have a couple forfeits for fun, and now everyone thinks that every single game I'm going to be stripping something from myself. But no, we're going away from the forfeits for now. Morning, everyone, says Neven. And also we have got there unpredictable, does not equal good. We're in for a thrashing, says Gatsanel. And a draw wouldn't surprise me, says JW. Yeah, a draw would be great. But then also at the same time, I feel like it wouldn't be, if that makes sense. I feel like we need to see an outright winner. And for the Bledisloe Cup sake, it has to be Australia. For the Rugby Championship sake, it almost has to be New Zealand. So both of these sides have plenty that they can do here to try and secure a bit more of a chance in this Rugby Championship competition. Either way, if you do lose, you still want bonus points, because that could still get you the Rugby Championship depending on the other results that we do end up seeing. I hope we win, but Australia are looking so good this year, says Pat Starr. I think that Australia, it's that high ball that they do have to really target. They've got Corey Toole, who will go up for them all day. They have got Harry Potter, who has shown some real skill with the aerial ability. And you got Jorgensen at the back, who is about as solid as you can be. New Zealand have had question marks around the aerial challenges. G'day, Phantom, who never sleeps. And Aussie has got lucky this year, says Kiwi Rob. Could you argue that all of the sides, in a way, have got lucky from how they have played? Like, at the end of the day, 2 wins, 2 losses. You'd have to say at a certain point, does it become that everyone is the same level? Or does it become that at times some sides have just picked their right moments? Like a Sharp brother says Zandor. And we need this win, says Neven. And also we have got there, I hope we win. And also, who do we put at 10 if Bowden and Damien get injured? It seems like we have no depth there at all. Love, super undercooked, says Rum. So I assume you're talking in general rather than just for this game. But, if you're looking at this game and you have 2 injuries for your number 10s, first of all, you're in a little bit of trouble. And not many sides would have more than 2 fly halves or first 5s in their lineup. But in that case, they'll probably move Geordie Barrett to 10. I guess if they really had to, you put Tapire into that number 12 jersey, and that would sort it out for this game. But, yeah, it will be interesting to see what the plan is moving forward. I think that, of course, if they can avoid the injuries of Bowden Barrett, Damien McKenzie, they will be the 2 that we see throughout November as well. They still don't seem to have a declaration of where they're actually going to play Ruben Love. Because, think about it, he's come onto the field once. He played on the wing alongside the other 5 fullbacks in this back line for New Zealand. Australia is going to do the business today. Aussie all the way, mate. Says Aroni. Morning here. How are you? Says Mashihu. Yeah, nice early morning start for you guys in South Africa. Currently sitting around 6:37 a.m. So I hope you guys are up rearing to go for a big day of rugby. Josh Oakham is playing outstanding footy. End of year, maybe. Says Ratman. It could be an option. One moment. I'm quickly going to sneeze, so I will very briefly mute. There we go. We are good. But they are just talking to Joe Schmidt at the moment, and he is talking about those late comebacks that they've been able to have multiple times. We have there. Yeah, of course, there is no delay. It's taking place in New Zealand. And be honest, do you think Australia deserved 2 bonus points after a way forward pass? No. I think that it shouldn't have been called as a try. I've mentioned that multiple times. But the points are on the board. They're not going to take them back now just because someone else reviews it, so it's happened. Australia, where they are at the moment, and now the other sides in the competition have to try and adjust because of it. South Africa's the champ 2025. Go Aussies, go. Says Leon. Although if Australia got themselves a big win here and a big win next week in Perth, that would mean that Australia win the Rugby Championship due to their points on the board. They have got 11 at the moment, more than any other side in this Rugby Championship. South Africa are sitting there on 10. New Zealand are sitting there on 10. So, yeah, it'll be intriguing. Their points differential is something that may carry South Africa over the line here, though. The fact that they have got themselves that little bit more of a boost, 18 points difference, that was due to that big win up against New Zealand not too long ago. But yeah, a very intriguing one at the moment for where that table will sit at the end of this round compared to the start. Waratahs under 16 just beat the Brumbies 97-0. Jeez, that's a bit one-sided. We have there. Roy Garb will be a huge factor for New Zealand. Him and Bowden Barrett will be cleaning up. Bang, says Vader. Yeah, see, I've said for this game that, yes, Bowden Barrett at times has been a little bit shaky, but with Roy Garb at the helm in that 9 jersey, this is where we could see one of Bowden's best games. Now, I don't want to jinx that because I normally do. Morning, Hamish, are you a little worried? Not really, no. I mean, I'm just excited for this game. I think that whoever wins this one will probably deserve it because that's the way that the Rugby Championship has worked. Whoever's won their games is normally the one who has stuck it to their opposition and really dug deep to try and get the victory. Australia, the comebacks that they have had so far throughout this Rugby Championship are insane. The way that they finished matches is phenomenal. New Zealand with negative points is crazy to see. Says JW. He's streaming Women's New Zealand's at 8 p.m. later today. We are going to be streaming the Women's New Zealand versus France match. Go the Wallabies, says Aka. And also, I think New Zealand midfield and fullback is the biggest issue for the backline. They need Geordie at 15. It's good in the air and has a big boot, says LB. And Australia will win by 6, says Mark. And there as well. And yeah, that would give New Zealand the bonus point, but it would give Australia those 4 points that would step them a little bit closer to a Rugby Championship title, as well as closer to the Bledisloe Cup, which is also on the line for this one. 51-1 tonight, you reckon, says Thomas. I assume you're talking recent history rather than just in general. Last time Australia won at Eden Park was 1986. Now, that was a little while ago, but it was way back in the era. I think Linar was playing in that game, or maybe even that was before his time. So Canada is in the final and not France. What? Says Gatson. Now, yeah, Canada are taking on the English in the final. Here's your try scorer. I got Will Jordan and Geordie. Okay, so you're going with two men in the back line. I think just because of what I said at the start of the year, before Caleb Clark picked up like 3 injuries, I said that if Caleb Clark was selected for the All Blacks, because many people didn't want to see him there because of his Super Rugby form, and I said if he gets selected, I think we can expect around 8 tries from Caleb Clark. Now, I feel like I can adjust that number a little bit, seeing as the fact that he hasn't played all throughout the July internationals or the Rugby Championship. In fact, he had one brief game, didn't he? Has he played this year? Up against the French, or did he miss both of those games due to injury? He might have missed both. He was supposed to come in. In fact, he might have played in the second one. Starting to get myself confused. But I'm going Caleb Clark, score a try in this game. Canada winning the World Cup. The English aren't allowed to have nice things. Says Thomas there. Box need Australia to win by more than 7 to break the streak. And also score less than 3 tries, says LB. Yeah, so it's a pretty technical scoreline that they are after in this game, the Australians. But honestly, if they just go out there and they can get a pretty decent win, I think they'll be happy enough. They're just showing there. Oh, no, there we go. Playing his first All Black test of 2025. He was named in that second lineup, I believe, and then the injury took him out. And then that put Rico in, I want to say. Can you go over the squads for me? I missed them, says LB. So we will look through at the teams and who is out there on the field. For New Zealand, they've had a bit of a shuffle in that back line. Caleb Clark going out to the left wing. Leroy Carter out on the right after getting his All Blacks debut on the left last match. And then Will Jordan slotting in as that number 15. Beauden Barrett keeps the helm as the number 10 with Cam Roigard slotting in at 9. His first game for the All Blacks in quite some time due to all the injuries that he's had to deal with as well. And then from there, it is in the midfield combination, Geordie Barrett and Billy Proctor. They'll be the two to keep an eye out for in this contest. Simon Parker, Artie Savia, Wallace Satiti, they make up the loose forward trio, and also this will be Savia's first game as captain for a little bit of time. Tupolvai alongside Fabian Holland in the locking duo. That is due to no Scott Barrett, and that is due to injury of his shoulder. Tyrell Lomax, Cody Taylor, and Ethan de Groot, they will make up the All Blacks. Front row for Australia, they have got a veteran in that number 1 jersey, 150 caps for James Slipper today. Taniela Tupou on the other side of the scrummy. Had a bit of a rough game up against Argentina in the first test match, but then did get a lot better in the second. Billy Pollard, he will be between the two big men here slotting in as the starting hooker. Nick Frost and Lukan Salakailoto. I think that's a great combination for the Wallabies here. Tom Hooper, Fraser McRae, and Harry Wilson. They will make up the loose forward trio. Tate McDermott, James O'Connor. 50 test matches for Tate McDermott. James O'Connor returning for another starting spot in this Wallaby side. Leonard Cattell, Joseph Suali'i. They will make up the midfield. Suali'i has been having fun scoring tries throughout this Rugby Championship competition. Corey Toole out on the left wing. Harry Potter out on the right. And then Max Jorgensen, he is slotting in as their number 15. But Suali'i at the moment, he is sitting on 4 tries, more than any other player in the Rugby Championship competition. There is one man on 3 tries. That is a man off the bench for New Zealand by the name of Samisoni Taukiaho. Will heads roll if we lose? Depends. And the thing is, like, people are going to say to sack Razor whether he wins this game or not. And it's a sad reality, you know. They haven't found a good replacement if they do want to sack him, the ones who are saying sack him, but they're happy enough to get rid of a coach and then just leave a gap. You know, you kind of need that replacement option. Some have said Jamie Joseph, but I don't know whether or not he even wants the job at the moment. I wouldn't, the way that Razor's been treated. I'll say that right now. You're watching on Stan Sports, says Thomas. I am not. I'm watching on Sky Sport 1 here in New Zealand. How many box kicks will there be? If New Zealand want to win this game, they can't do too many. I think that Cam Roigard will do a few earlier on in the game, but I don't think they're going to go with a fully kicking orientated one, because if they do, they'll probably struggle. Actually, how much Aussie paying for a win? Again, they are paying $5 to win this game. The Australians. Scooter has been invisible anyway. I would rather Holland and Vai regardless, says Greet the Sacred Cow. See, I think a lot of people were hoping to see Tui Pelotu step into that number 4 jersey. Holland as a 4 is a little bit different, but it's not something that the man hasn't done before But yeah, that Fabian Holland, Patrick Tuipulotu combo actually worked very well up against the French in the starting lineup. New Zealand need to increase their management. So it's Wayne Taylor, and also we have got their High Hamish and Nelson for a break. Nice catch up. Do you think New Zealand have a chance? Well, New Zealand come in as favourites, and they've got the Eden Park record on the line, as well as in their favour in certain extents. But it's still not going to be an easy game for either of these sides, I don't believe. It could go down to the wire, and in that case, you know, the way that Australia have been finishing games, you just have to think that they'd have a decent old shot. I think New Zealand have to be leading by more than 10 going into the final 10 minutes if they want to secure this win. It's a bold prediction, but just recently we have seen how well the Australians can finish games. We have got there, welcome back, Caleb Clark. What's the catch with the first captain and two vice-captains on the field in this rugby championship, says Sana? Yeah, it does seem to be something that a lot of the sides are incorporating. Christie's out, so hopefully not so much telegraph repetitive. Box kick, says Nas. The rest of the world will be rooting for Australia, says Asher. They are. I've heard quite a few South Africans saying that they're going for the Aussies, but then at the same time, they can't have Australia win too much in terms of the points difference and everything, or else then Australia will actually become favourites for the Rugby Championship. And South Africa would have to get themselves 2 bonus point victories to be able to take out the Rugby Championship and avoid Australia getting just the 1 bonus point victory in that regard as well. If the Kiwis want to reclaim their undisputed crown, they need to play rugby where the best rugby is being played. I need to loosen restrictions on eligibility, says Thomas. And we can win if Wayne Smith is hanging out in the coaching box. And isn't this Carisbrook? Carisbrook was the last time Australia beat New Zealand back in 2001. And that was on New Zealand soil. Since then, I believe there's been 29 wins or so for the Kiwis. As a Kiwi, disappointed in the AB's fans who dismiss coaches, players, etc. whenever we lose. AB's winning all the time, like they have in the past. It's only fun for New Zealand. Game is in a great place at the moment. Yeah, like competitive rugby is what has really grown the game. And that's why so many are disappointed about no rugby championship next year. Mainly because, I mean, how much entertainment have we squeezed into 4 rounds of this year's rugby championship? It's been absolutely insane. There's been upset wins. There's been all sorts of excitement. And, you know, to not have that next year, don't get me wrong, South Africa All Blacks, you know, like that's going to be an insane tour. But where does that leave Australia and Argentina? Are they going to do the same thing? Bok fans backing New Zealand on this one, says rough stuff. And also, do you think New Zealand, I'll get back to where they were. It depends on what you mean by where they were. Because, you know, they did have an era where they were unbeatable. And I don't think any side in rugby is going to get to that era maybe ever again. Let's just be honest. At the moment, rugby is much more competitive than it used to be, which is absolutely fantastic for the game. Because if we went into a World Cup, like let's say 2027, and everyone knew there were 2 sides, maybe 3, who had a chance of winning it, the excitement's pretty much gone. Whereas if you look at a rugby championship like this, and you look at the Six Nations and the competitiveness of that competition, and you look at the international games of rugby we've been seeing, the fact that the next World Cup, we could see about 6 or 7, maybe even more sides with a very good chance of winning a World Cup, that's the best case scenario. Like someone said just before, it's only fun for New Zealand when they were winning every single game if you're from New Zealand. Whereas now, you know, it's one of those ones where every single game, you just don't know who's going to be able to get themselves the victory in these matches. It is either going to be, you know, a close game, or sometimes you get a one-sided game, but then they play the next week and it's close. Or maybe the side that lost by a big margin then end up winning. Let's go the ABs, but big changes. If we drop this one, says the trail running. And also we have got there, who is your favourite today, says Carlos. I mean, New Zealand at Eden Park is a hard one to bet against. But I'll be honest, I looked through at this Australian side when I saw them. I was a little bit iffy about Harry Potter out on the right wing. I'll be honest, I thought maybe Dalgunu was going to go in. Andrew Callaway's a bit of a hit, as well as no Tom Wright. Definitely if Australia are looking at any sort of kicking game throughout this contest, but I don't think they will. I think they'll go for that counter-attack off the back 3 if New Zealand keep on feeding it to their backs. No, I mean how good they were, even at their peak. They lost games. It seems the quality of New Zealand rugby players dropped, or maybe coaching. I think it's just the world's gotten better. You know, like the amount of sides now that can beat any international team. You know, you could look at anyone in that top 10, and if they played a really good game of rugby, they could beat anyone in that top 10 as well. So I don't know whether or not it's so much that the player quality have dropped. Now, of course, the rules have changed quite a bit since those earlier games. It's a lot harder to play that same style of rugby that we saw back in the day. But I do think that the world has caught up, and it's a saying that some people hate because of the fact that it is slightly true, and that is that there are so many more international sides that have put their funding and put their resources into rugby now and are starting to get pretty bloody good at it. We have got their Wise Fiji not on the top 8, says Biggie Boom. Sadly, consistency is the thing that has hurt the Fijians, as well as the fact that when they do play their rugby, a majority of the time, their internationals aren't available. The amount of times that they have played a game that Tuisova or Noyatha Levu or Randrandra, all those type of players could have made a big difference, but they haven't had them available, is quite substantial for the Fijians. So, if they drop a game every once in a while to a higher ranked side or a side similar because of that, they normally just go plummeting down in those rankings again. We have got their Fiji have the talent, but France don't allow them to be great. And pass it early and with precision. Will win, run it and put the boot away. Run straight, hard, destroy them, and go wide. All Blacks all day, says Shane. World-class players are coming from all over the place now, says JW. You even look at someone like, I know that Union's probably not the example yet, but for the Sevens, someone like Spain, they were close to getting relegated last year and they found themselves finishing way up on the Seven circuit this season. And I think the game's going to continue to grow. The likes of Spain, Portugal, we've seen South America have a really good increase recently in terms of the skill level. Even Chile up against the Samoans, they look the real deal, even if you do argue that Samoa didn't have their strongest side. Sorry, but we are weaker, says Phil there. And we have got there loving how intensely awkward the Razor-Smith rivalry is. It's very clear Schmidt resents Razor for not saying anything in support during Foster's drama. And odd how much of New Zealand rugby coaches dislike Razor. It's interesting, though, because before the game, those two were shown laughing together. They were just having a good old catch-up. But the media like to really get that gear grinding. Like, they'll talk about it after the game. If one of them slightly frowned at the other one, that will become a headline. But we saw for a solid minute or so, they were just having a chin wag on the side of the field. So there must be that little bit of mutual respect. And to be fair, if you have two coaches that supposedly don't like each other, is that going to bring more eyeballs to the game? Because I think the answer is definitely yes. And it's one of the reasons that some people are even watching this game is because they want to see which coach is going to get the better of that miniature rivalry that is at least starting to build. Because you don't really get that in rugby these days. Everyone's so media trained that you've got to be nice to your opposition. And you've got to say it's all great that we're all taking part. But really, they want to go out there and they want to say, look, we think our team's better than yours and we're going to make you look ordinary. And one of these two sides may be able to say that at the end of this game, depending on how the result goes. And we are only sitting about 10 minutes away from finding out. Well, not really. We're sitting around 2 hours away from finding out who wins, but game's just about to get underway. Aussie win the Bledisloe would be pretty incredible for the sport. And Desde Argentina, says Louise. Of course, we are going to be covering that one a little bit later on. They're not going to fight on live TV, mate, says Menelik. Yeah, they're not going to, but they also didn't have to go and approach each other and have a chat, did they? Like they could have avoided each other. At the end of the day, there is a whole big field where you can fit multiple people in between you, or you can be on your half and they can be on theirs, but they chose to have a chat. So there's obviously still that little bit of mutual respect there. They don't have to hold them back with security guards and say, no, you're not allowed to chat to each other. We have got the Australia should tour South America next year. Test against Argentina, Uruguay, and Chile. Well, the thing is, their schedule is now wide open because they don't have a rugby championship. New Zealand and South Africa have gone their own way to take on a tour, which is great for those two sides, but it does mean that Argentina and Australia are very confused about where that leaves them. So they will have to get a bit of organisation going and work out what they're actually going to be doing. Do you think that the Eden Park record can last for 50 years? How many has it lasted for at the moment? They're up to 29 years, aren't they? I think it will be lucky to go for 32. Maybe even 31, maybe even 30, depending on where the last loss was. Just because of how competitive international rugby is. And very good to see you again, Hamish. Since Imagination Freaks, they are just showing that loose forward trio of the Wallabies. We will go through the starting lineups in a very short moment, ladies and gentlemen, and then we will be right into the kickoff of this contest. It is going to be a massive game when these two sides do go head-to-head. If you are new to the channel, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It is greatly appreciated you all tuning in. Of course, we have got plenty more action coming just around the corner too. A big day of rugby. New Zealand, they will be playing in the women's game up against the French. That is happening in the near future. But this lineup for the Kiwis And it's going to be Ethan de Groot, Cody Taylor, and Tyrell Lomax. So, return of Cody Taylor after his head knock that he did suffer in the first test up against the Springboks. Fabian Holland and Tupou Vaa'i, they will make up the locking duo, and that is due to the injury that we have seen of Scott Barrett. Simon Parker, Artie Savia, and Wallace Satiti, they will make up the loose forward trio. Cam Roigard returns for his first game since injury in that number 9 jersey, with Bowden Barrett slotting in at 10. Geordie Barrett and Billy Proctor, they will be the midfield combination here. Caleb Clark out on the left wing. Leroy Carter, he transitions to the right after a good showing last week up against the South Africans, or the week prior, and then Will Jordan, he is back at number 15 as well. For the Australians, James Slipper brings up the 150. Billy Pollard at 2, and Daniela Tupou starting in as the 3. Nick Frost and Lukan Salakai-Lotto in the locking duo for this matchup, with Tom Hooper, Fraser McRae, and Harry Wilson as the loose forward trio. I feel like that's where Australia, if they were to get that late momentum going, that is where it's going to stem from. Having those two men, because normally Tate McDermott is the guy making his way off the bench to add that little bit more speed and impact too, whereas in this game he is starting alongside James O'Connor, Ryan Lonergan off the bench for this game. Leonard Cattell and Sua Le'i, who is the leading try scorer of this competition at 13. Corey Toole, Harry Potter, and Max Jorgensen slots in as that number 15. So, those are the starting lineups for this match, ladies and gentlemen. Our last 20 minutes will be crucial, says JW. Yeah, Australia have been the best side throughout the last 20 minutes of this Rugby Championship. New Zealand have been the worst. Predicting that, All Blacks win the first half. Roos win the second half. And ABs win by 2 points. Go the AB, says Memento there. And Will Jordan captain incoming. And also we have got there, I like the look, Hamish, here for a Kiwi win, already at 31 years. Says Shane. Yeah, see, I'll be honest, I think that any more than 33 would be very impressive. And of course, it depends on who they decide to face at Eden Park. But if they end up facing either the Box or Argentina or even Australia, with the form that this side is in at the moment, it could come to a close that little bit sooner. Go time, says the AI underdog. And also AFL final in Bledisloe 1, says the big VH. Yeah, it's a busy day for sport. And then also a little bit later on, that South Africa versus Argentina game, it is overlapping with the Women's World Cup final. We are going to be covering the Rugby Championship match, but then also giving updates on what is happening for that World Cup final as well between Canada and England. We have got there the Rugby Championship set up own rugby awards post-championship annually. Be positive initiative to recognise Southern Hemisphere rugby talents, says Sana. And thanks, Kiwi lads, for the commentary. I cannot afford Sky. You bring the game to me and others, says Mike. And we are going to be here for plenty of hours today. We've still got that bronze final, like I mentioned, between New Zealand and France. Alongside that, we've also got the South Africa-Argentina game, and then also Samoa in their World Cup qualification match up against Chile. The first game between those two sides was 32-32. So it means whoever wins this game in Chile now, in front of about a 25,000 sold-out stadium, will make their way through. They just said there that Suaalii was only a few weeks old the last time the Bledisloe Cup changed hands. And that man now at 22 years of age, he's had 13 test matches for the Australians. He has had 4 test tries to his name, and he has been looking like a standout for this Wallaby side. We have got the best of luck to Chile, says JW. Hamish, you're well. Let's go All Blacks, says Isaac. And both sides just making their way out onto the field. There's a huge amount of excitement, a huge amount of anticipation regarding this game. And Captain Artie Savia will be leading the side now out of the tunnel at Eden Park. No one wants to be the captain that loses that Eden Park streak. And Artie Savia will know the full pressures of being in charge for this game. Money well spent indeed, says Lummy there. And now Savia making his way out in front of what is a loud Eden Park crowd. I believe it is sold out for this match. Cam Roigard also making his way onto the field. His return after a long injury layoff. He's only had 13 matches since his debut in 2023, but he has scored 8 tries throughout that time. He's got a pretty good conversion rate in terms of tries per games played. Go Chile, says Luis. When was the last day test? Or when was the last day test at Eden Park? I think it's been a little while for the ABs. I can't think of one in the last kind of 2 or so years. Lame. I only have the Australian commentary on stand. Says Pat Star there. Please don't take my Eden record. Took everything else. Thank God for the Bledisloe. Says Shane there, but they are just about to have the national anthems, and then we will be underway for this match. So anyone who hasn't already, of course, be sure to get in your score predictions for this contest. Who is going to be winning this game? And how much do you think they're going to be winning it by? And the streaks are crazy, but Munster and the HC has to be the best in only one stadium competition. Says Coleman, let's go, says JW. And there as well, the Australian national anthem. They'll be fired up for this game. They have gone into it knowing that they are considered as the bigger underdogs, but with that most recent narrow loss to Argentina, I don't think there's going to be any signs of fatigue or any signs of holding back from this Aussie side. Love the shared head. It's like you have your own prison cell number. Says Clint D there. And we have got the Hamish, you're looking absolutely fantastic. And also 24-21 is my prediction, says JW. 42 for New Zealand, 32 for the Australians. And Heineken Cup, just FYI, says Colm there. And also, Australia will win, says Kule there. That man, I thought he had a watermelon, but it was a rugby ball that was green and gold. But I thought he was just holding up a big fruit in the stands. And I was thinking, well, that's surely a safety hazard. I don't know whether a ball's much better, but you can't be chucking watermelons around the stands. Top commentary on YouTube, thanks, man, says Don. And we are going to be here for plenty more, including that last round of the Rugby Championship next week. Going to be covering that one on the channel as well. But also, do let me know who you think will be the player who scores the first try in this contest, ladies and gentlemen. And we have got there, Hamish is built different. He's always partial. I'll be so biased if I was commentating, says Lizar there. And would you accept a custom printed Kiwi Lads necktie for Christmas, says the Big V8 show. I would say potentially. I don't know what I'd do with it in terms of, well, of course I would wear it, but in terms of the design of it, I guess if you were going to try and design it instead, I would happily accept. Hey, your tie is so good, says Albert, although some people say that it clashes with the shirt. That's what I've been told multiple times on these live streams from the fashionistas. We have got there a good afternoon there. Yeah, 7 in the morning from the Netherlands, says Inky. Yeah, nice early morning start for you guys up in Europe as well as South Africa for this matchup. But we see some determined looking faces for New Zealand as well. Sometimes that Bledisloe, it's not a Ronnie Clark singing the national anthem, is it? I don't think it is, but it looks very similar to it. We have got their Wallabies to win by 5 points. And also we have got their here as an Oz fan this morning, says Clint D. Although you don't want Australia to win by too much, because or else then the maths actually goes against South Africa and then Australia become favourites to win the Rugby Championship because of that extra point. And that is a pretty substantial one. You're sitting there. 1 second, we'll go like this. There are tears in the eyes of Caleb Clark at the moment. That man feeling emotional. The thing is, he hasn't even played throughout this year. He almost got the chance, ended up with the injury. And I just feel like for this type of game, this is where he wants to make his mark. Last time New Zealand played Australia, that man scored 2 tries. And now he's back in the All Blacks kit. And you hope he has a big game there. Artie Savia looking a little bit emotional about this game too. And now ready for the haka. But this is the way that the table sat, ladies and gentlemen. Heading into this round, it is not how it will sit at the end. Clark is emotional. Okay, I think it is a Ronnie Clark, because that was just a moment between Caleb Clark and his dad there, who kind of went over to him and gave him a bit of a tap on the shoulder. So I think that might have also played a little bit of factor in the emotions of Caleb Clark. Yeah, I thought it looked like him. I didn't even realise he could sing. And that New Zealand anthem. We have got the 12:04 in Dallas, but it's worth it, says Hang a Rat. And how long till it starts? It is less than 5 minutes away. In fact, it is less than 3 minutes away from the start of this contest. I'm in Hong Kong, mate. I just need a link to the factory address, or a factory across the border in China, to get a Kiwi Lads time made, says the Big V8 show. And, no, it is, I'm pretty sure, says Alumni there. And there as well, watching from the jungle, says Borneo, or in Borneo, I should say, but the haka just now taking place. Ready to go for this matchup. Do let me know, first try scorer, who are you thinking? I think that Caleb Clark, he might go out there and just try and absolutely run rampage, but he's got a Harry Potter, a wizard in front of him. I need to stop making that joke, but I just can't help myself. Taniela Tupou, he looks fired up. The scrum's such a crucial part of this contest as well. And there seems to be a little bit of extra something here on the haka from the All Blacks. Of course, coming off a record loss, they are going to be more fired up than ever. Including someone like a Billy Proctor. Wants to secure that number 13 jersey. The rumours of Leicester Whānā Nuku on the rise. and just around the corner from making his way back into the squad. Caleb Clark to run rampant and $100 on slipper first try. Yes, I'm kidding. Says Studs race and Captain Artie for the first try. It could happen. Artie Savia likes to find himself just out from that line. But now, a haka has been done, ladies and gents, which means we are ready for the kickoff of this contest. Ben Slipper will score. Is that like James Slipper, but is his real name Ben? Harry Potter and the Chamber of Fire. Says a roof there. And out there on the Eden Park field, it is going to feel like a pressure cooker for these guys. We see there Patrick Tuipulotu, another man returning from injury for New Zealand. Let's go, says Jalen. And also I'm predicting New Zealand to crush the Aussies 34 points to 12. And Cody Taylor for the first try, I'm predicting. Says Aliza there. And AB's 34, Wallabies 31. First try will be JW for New Zealand. Says Zoe there. And also Artie in beast mode. Says Floyd Kingy there as well. They are just talking about the intenseness of this game at the moment. Neither side blinking an eye. And it just has that big match feel about it. Just around the corner from starting up. The referee in charge of this game, I believe it's going to be Andrea Piardi. G'day, Hamish watching here in South Florida. Go the All Blacks, going to be epic. Says Jacques World. We've got a flyover as well of Eden Park for an afternoon contest. You don't get it too often here in New Zealand. A 5:05 p.m. kickoff for the All Blacks. With the two planes flying over the ground now before we get underway for this matchup. I am pretty excited about this one. I feel like it's just got the ability of being maybe match of the whole rugby championship. That's pretty hard to do though, because of what we have seen in just recent times. We have got there, this stuff's going to be close, says War Plundering, and also Anzac Wion. Like I said, Andrea Piardi of Italy in charge of this one. The assistants are Matthew Carley and Morne Ferreira, Andrew Jackson, the foul play match official, and Marius Jonker on the TMO. New Zealand, they will be kicking this one off from right to left to get us underway. 9 straight wins over Australia, unbeaten since 2020. That was actually a November match up against the Aussies, and that one took place in Brisbane. Australia hasn't beaten the All Blacks at Eden Park in 39 years. Their last win here, I believe, was 1986. Can't see I've ever seen a flyover at Eden Park, says Jamie, but the kickoff, Beauden Barrett, getting this game underway, and the Bledisloe Cup is now on the line. Nick Frost manages to claim it for the Australians. Tate McDermott in the starting lineup for his 50th match. Though there is a man out there who has tripled him, James Slipper with the 150 in this matchup, rolling it back here. McDermott 25 metres out from the Wallabies line. And does get the first box kick in the sky. Corey Toole going up for it, but it's Geordie Barrett who comes down with the ball in hand. Roygaard goes across now into the hands of Fabian Holland. His first touch as a number 4 for the All Blacks. Roygaard back to Barrett. Now Cody Taylor returning from his head knock. His first minutes since that concussion only a few weeks ago. Beauden Barrett goes to Will Jordan, shoveling it on. Geordie passes it in behind, but it's cleaned up by Satiti close to the touchline. Tackled by McDermott, trying to roll him into touch, and they do just that. Some brilliant physicality shown by the Wallabies. Now, it seems like it's going to be an All Blacks line out. We need to win this. Save Razor's job, says Tane. And 39 years, damn good morning, says Hano. Welcome and hope you're doing extremely well. We have got there as well about the great haka this morning. Yeah, there just seemed to be that little bit of extra something about it, didn't there? In terms of one more extra gear, which is exactly what New Zealand will want to find throughout this game. Maybe he's a cook and going short side. Artie Savia breaking through, gives it to Roygaard. Does try and run over the top of Jorgensen and does get through him, but then tackled. Now Jorgensen retreating. He was offside when he made the tackle on Artie Savia. Piardi playing the advantage. Vai sitting 20 metres out. Roygaard back across to Beauden. Finds Geordie looking for the cross kick. Ball's going Caleb Clark's direction. Goes up for the ball against Corey Toole. And they'll go back for the original penalty. Thank you very much, says Elvis. And also, I bet you the Sharks. Oh, sorry, I bet you a steak and cheese pies. The ABs get the first try, says Memento. And morning going to be a good game, says Bruce. But they just show it there that Jorgensen was a little bit too quick trying to get back and trying to make that tackle on Artie Savia. Hadn't fully retreated, and it does look like New Zealand are kicking this one for the corner rather than going for the 3 points. Good morning, Amish. What a cracker of a game. Wish New Zealand for the win today from a Bok fan, says Brett. And there as well. But there is already a real speed about the way that All Blacks are playing in this game. Cody Taylor ready to throw it into Holland, sitting 10 metres out from the try line. I feel a rolling try coming up, maybe a rolling more with them kicking for the corner. There's a pretty high likeliness in that department, although well defended by Australia. They managed to shut it down. Now Roygaard goes across to Geordie Barrett, tackled by Iketel, and another advantage against the Australians. Now Wallace, a TT, big collision with Harry Wilson, bounces straight out of it. Roygaard, wide cut out pass to Tupolvai, tried the step. It's good defence so far from the Wallabies. Cam Roygaard popping it up now, Taylor to De Groot. Big clean out in the breakdown from Fabian Holland. Caleb Clark waiting patiently out on this left wing side. He might get it now. Jordan goes across to Clark, who scores the try in the corner. 3 minutes into his 2025 for New Zealand. And Caleb Clark's on the board. You'd have to call it a team try, the way that they got it out to that left wing side. But Caleb Clark, he's got his first of many for the season. And just a backline movement. Australia caught in the wide channel with not having the cover. And Caleb Clark managing to score himself the try. We will go Clark. They're talking about that extra bit of speed from Will Jordan to get them in a good position to be able to run it out wide. Caleb Clark, the perfect start to this match for New Zealand now. Go like that. We'll go like that as well. He's probably still fired up from the national anthem, Caleb Clark. Now scores the opening, and damn, should have bet on him, says Naz. To be fair, he was my prediction, but I didn't put any money on him, of course. But no, it was a good shout in that regard. Beauden Barrett from the touchline hits the post to bounce back out. And the score now after 4.5 minutes, it's 5-0 in favour of New Zealand. You are 40 seconds behind, I think. Says Jamie, that is because I'm watching on Sky Sport now rather than watching on Sky, so there is always that little bit of a 30-second or so delay. Australia now ready to kick this one off. That's back underway. Piari just making sure everyone is on side. James O'Connor kicking it back off. I will mention the scoreboard seems to be in go slow mode. Oh no, there we go. Just jinxed it. Not really kick missed. And also we have the All Blacks look like they are up for it. Australia has their work cut out for them. And yep, I knew Caleb Clark would bring home the bacon, yippee. Says Sana there, an easy win for the ABs. Says sighted there too. Now Cam Roygaard rolling this one back again. This is his first box kick of the day. 5 minutes into the contest. It is staying in the air for a long time. Awkward bouncing ball, but Corey Toole, the 7-star, goes up for it and manages to get himself the steal. Australia back in possession. Again, New Zealand's aerial ability is being questioned. Dermott back across to James O'Connor. Oh, that was almost obstruction. James Slipper almost ended up in the wrong place, wrong time. Leonard Cattell with a straightening run before he is tackled by Fabian Holland and De Groot. The Highlanders boys working together. Hooper looking for the steal, and the breakdown was Vai. He loses his footing too. Harry Wilson crashes into Satiti. That's going to be a great number 8 battle. I can tell you already we've seen one man and Wallace Satiti charge at him only a couple minutes ago, and Harry Wilson firing it straight back. 25 metres out from the line here for the Australians. Lukan Salakailoto, this time tackled by Satiti again. McDermott popping it up to James Slipper, the 150 cap veteran for the Aussies. Short ball to Harry Wilson. Good go forward now for the Australians. Looking for it was Joseph Suaalii. Didn't quite get the pass from the forward. Savia looking for the steal, but they'll go back for the initial penalty against New Zealand. This one right out in front of the posts. So you could argue here it's an easy 3 if they want it. Aroni brother, can't believe you went that low with Helen Clark, says Johnny, and also AB's game on, says Frank. And it does seem like the choice is to go for the 3 points here for Australia. This is their first time inside of New Zealand's 22. And they will leave it with some points on the board. Is there no company in New Zealand? Can sponsor Robertson a new to pay? Says Firelighter, or maybe he just doesn't care about his physical appearance. We have got there Santiago Carreras at the moment. He is sitting at the top of the points standings. James O'Connor in second on 23. We have got there, that's not the first time I'm rooting for the ABs. Can't recall the other time from a South African. Says Roger. That kick has gone over, making the score now 5 points to 3 between these two sides. And awesome Caleb back, says Zion. You're already having that instant impact out on the wing. I got Wallabies winning this, says Rizzy. So team is way better than the one that got smashed by the mighty Box. And we have another game versus the Box with this team, says Johnny. They will have one next year, so there is a chance that we do see them all face each other in the near future. That's going to be nicely taken by Nick Frost again off kickoff. Australia have got the ball 35 metres out from the line. Now a little pop pass up from Fraser McWright to Harry Wilson. Now play on Billy Pollard breaking the line and breaking through the tackle of Fabian Holland. McDermott getting his arms and legs tied up by Tyrell Lomax, and New Zealand get themselves the steal. Roigard back across to Satiti. Now Bowden Barrett goes to Will Jordan. Once again looking to use it on the left wing. Caleb Clark with the ball in hand cuts back inwards round Jorgensen. 2 men on the breakdown, and that's off the feet from the Australians. Quick tap taken by Cam Roigard. Breaks through one, offloads to Bowden Barrett. And they are sitting 5 metres out from the line. Australia try and turn it into a rolling maul, but Barrett does well. Shifts it away. Bailey steps back inwards. Didn't go out wide, but perhaps should have. In that scenario, Roigard back across to the left-hand side. Finds Tyrell Lomax once more. No advantage for offside. This game being played at a frantic tempo at the moment. Short ball to Billy Proctor as he moves within 5 metres. The ball's going to be stuck in there at the moment, but Roigard manages to find it. Savia passed behind Will Jordan, and they'll go back for the penalty again. Come on, Aussie Razor. I was a real hype. That has not delivered. Says Wairoa, and also we've got there lots of sports, bud. Bet you got spotted pants on. Spotted pants on. I've got track pants on at the moment. It's supposed to get a bit colder overnight. We are going to be streaming all throughout till 10:30 a.m. tomorrow morning New Zealand time, so in around 17 hours time. But they are going to go for the points here, New Zealand, taking on the 3. Yeah, just talking about Tupavai. Had he had that opportunity again, probably would have looked to pass it on the outside, as there was that space in the wide channel that wasn't quite used by the Kiwis. But the All Blacks now looking to add the extra 3 points. Bowden Barrett gets it over, and that makes the score now 8 points to 3 in favour of the ABs. We have got there, let's go the ABs, as Roof just woken up. And also New Zealand going to suffer if they keep this pace, says V. All Blacks must win, but without a bonus point, says Jackal's World. There's a lot of teams winning, but not bonus points, seems to be the prediction that a lot of people are after. I know where they are from as well. Take the points old school, says Mark. James O'Connor kicking this one off long, nicely taken by Wallace Atiti inside of the All Blacks 22. Now Roigard already just seems to have added that little bit of extra pace to the way that this All Blacks side are playing here. Now Roigard back into the pocket to Bowden Barrett. Bit of hesitancy there, but no one chasing after it for the Australians, or at least trying to get the charge down. Will Jordan going up for the high ball and does claim it there for the All Blacks. It was almost said with a little bit of surprise, unfortunately, just from what we've seen this season so far. But now Cody Taylor pass on the outside, skipped to Wallace Satiti. That is a collision and a half with Harry Wilson. Those two, you would think they hated each other the way that they've been hitting each other for the early stages. Now Fabian Holland thought about the offload to the group, couldn't quite find it. Roigard. Now Tupavai passes on, finds Artie Savia. Now to Will Jordan, tries to step, can't get his offload away in the tackle of Harry Potter. And Aussie captain stepping forward and questioning every decision. Not good, says Joss there. And Roigard too greedy. So many times has not released the ball, says Wairoa. Now going off to the right-hand side. I assume you're talking about that one where he offloaded to Bowden Barrett a little bit earlier on. That's going to be charged down. Geordie Barrett going for the boot and behind. Doesn't work, but now it sits up for Bowden. Tyrell Lomax, but a broken play here for New Zealand, which they will not mind too much. They do normally love the counter-attack. Roigard almost sneaking through before he's tackled by James O'Connor. Now Savia to Bovay, trying to show off the fancy footwork, but Billy Pollard was not falling for it. 11 and a half minutes through on this contest. We have got the donation from Sam as well. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated, mate, for your generosity going on the outside. Now Boomfar, Leroy Carter offloading, but nicely done by Suali'i to at least slap it back in the field of play, but it will then bounce out. New Zealand have to line out 20 metres out from the Australian line. 50 points, the Razor is out, says Mark. We have got there Harry Potter, hard to take him serious, but damn, pretty handy player. Yeah, and definitely good under the high ball too, which I think is somewhere that Australia were not too sad about the fact that they had to put him in for. Great game so far. Come on, Australia, says Lyle. Yeah, it's been a fast tempo type of contest. Australia lacking possession, but certainly not lacking in defence. Now, low tackle on Simon Parker. The All Blacks 15 metres out from the try line. Cody Taylor pops it in behind. Beauden Barrett goes to Will Jordan. Tackle low by Potter. It's cleaned out of the breakdown by Caleb Clark. Tupou Vai, another carry for the All Blacks, number 5. Now Lomax, he thought about popping it backwards, but instead will take contact with the veteran James Slipper. Now Parker inside, ball to the group, hit by Hooper. Knees are down. Left-hand side now, Beauden Barrett. A little bit of wrestling there between Tom Hooper and Ethan de Groot by the looks of it. I'm not too sure what actually started that. But it was going on for a little bit of time. Tupou again. Now straight out in front of the sticks now. Simon Parker runs into his opposite number, Tom Hooper. Roigard using it quickly. Going off to the right-hand side. Geordie Barrett trying to bump off Leonard Cattell, who does make a great low tackle on him. Artie Savia, pick and go. 5 metres out from the line, becomes 3 off the post contact. Roigard short side, tries to snipe just short of the try line now. And over the line, and it will be Leroy Carter, 2 from 2 for the young All Black. And we have got the donation from Jalen as well. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. But both wingers managing to score here. Clark and Carter having a field day at the moment, but he was a long way off his wing to score that one. Leroy Carter saw the pick and go opportunity after Leroy had just witnessed Cam Roigard do the same thing. He said, oh, well, I'll give it a crack as well. See if the leg strength can go. With the 2 forwards there doing the work, or in fact, sorry, the 2 backs, I should say. It was Caleb Clark and Billy Proctor who joined that breakdown for New Zealand that then allowed Leroy Carter to pick and go. Will Jordan was also there, so I have no idea where the forwards were for New Zealand, but the backs getting the job done, and once again, another solid team try. Stellar commentary, you're on fire, says Studs Race. And we have got there, well done, the Big Islander. Our boys storming up the field, says Sonny. And also we have got there, good luck Kiwis. I hope you show your class again, but now Beauden Barrett. And ready to line up this kick, and he's missed again, now sitting with 1 from 3. Our number 9 is back, and it's making a statement, says Carlos. So yeah, Cam Roigard already having many moments throughout this game where he has been involved. And Leroy Carter, just that low body position, going to always be hard to stop when it came down to Tate McDermott being in front of him. And Hamish all says Wild Lobster, so New Zealand now leading 13 points to 3. And Leroy Carter is on fire. And who's the kicker? It is Beauden Barrett for this matchup. Now, ready to kick it off, James O'Connor. Does boot it deep into New Zealand's territory. Oh, Geordie Barrett smashed by Corey Tall, but still managed to find the offload. And good morning from South Africa, says Gerhard. Welcome in, hope you're doing extremely well. Of course, there is a game just around the corner involving the South Africans up against Argentina with a Rugby Championship fully on the line. Beauden Barrett kicking this one high, nicely taken by Joseph Suali'i. Now another nice step there. Tupou Vai making a tackle on him. He lets it go, well done. As he could have easily ended up getting himself penalised and missed kicks. Need to catch up to South Africa points difference, says Nas. Now McDermott back across to the right-hand side. Another step coming in. Now pick and go from McDermott, showing off his quick stepping, but Satiti, he's made about 5 to 10 tackles already. Harry Potter knocking that ball on, and Roigard cleaning it up. 16 minutes through the contest already. Caleb Clark goes back to Satiti, who goes back to Barrett, who goes back to Geordie. It looked like there was going to be a kick there from the Kiwis, but instead, and we'll keep it alive and once again look to play that running game. We have seen only very few kicks here from the All Blacks. As I say that, back into the pocket, Beauden Barrett sends it high. I may have jinxed that one. Now Jordan, or in fact that time was Caleb Clark going up for it, and it's been retained by the All Blacks. Now Fabian Holland back across to the right-hand side here. Ethan de Groot chopped down by Taniela Tupou. Those two will be going head-to-head in the scrums. I don't actually think we've had one yet throughout the first 16 minutes of this game, but Billy Pollard wins the penalty for the Wallabies not releasing going against New Zealand. A change of whoever is kicking. Says Average Guy. Well, the weird thing is, it looked like Geordie Barrett was doing the warm-up kicks. And I didn't actually see much of Beauden's kicking. Maybe he was also doing it, but I would have thought they would have just gone Geordie. And we have got there, keep the pressure on, ABs. You turned up today. Good turnover for the Pollard. And also we have got there waiting to put up the notification as my timekeeper for the South African game with Kiwi Lads going live. All that one hasn't found touch from the Australians. That is a vital mistake that they may have just made, and instead now losing a lot of meterage. James O'Connor looking to run it from the back. Two-man tackle on him by Cody Taylor and Will Jordan. Bit of a counter ruck from the Kiwis as well. Jorgensen shuffling it onto Hooper. Sold as if he was going inside to pull up, but takes it instead. Artie Savia couldn't quite get the steal. There's some great work coming in the breakdown from Lukan Salakaialoto. There is an Aussie player down in back play. I believe it's McDermott, as Harry Potter has taken on the halfback role now. They've said there McDermott may have done a hamstring, and that is not good news for the Australians. Ryan Lonergan on debut will have to make his way off the bench in the very near future. Penalty goes the way of Australia, but McDermott does not look like he's going to be continuing in this game. Don't get too carried away. This work changes nothing and stay on it. There's Shane there. And yeah, it's all well and good having a lead like this at the moment, but it's whether or not you have that lead at the end of the game. And that is something that New Zealand at times have struggled with a little bit throughout this rugby championship. But Ryan Lonergan, I have to say, it's been a long time coming, this man to get an opportunity. He has been so close so many times. There have been years that he should have been selected and wasn't. He's just ended up kind of getting wrestled backwards there, almost doing like the splits. And it did not look good for him. It looked like the flexibility was fully tested, and it doesn't look like he will be able to continue in this game, nor maybe even in this rugby championship in general. However, they're the two teams, Big Island boys, are both full of Big Islander boys. So here's Johnny. We've got their fantastic super cool. So here's Ruth. And international test debut tonight. Wallaby number 992. So we're getting close to that 1,000 mark for the Australians. I am lad this morning. So here's Gerhard there. They're just showing that try from Leroy Carter. Also Caleb Clark managing to score it out on the other wing. They kick for the corner, says Kwandele. They have not done the kick just yet. The last time they did, and they didn't manage to find touch. But now James O'Connor going to be kicking towards the touchline. Won't get to the corner from where he is. That one is going to go out. I bought $2,995 Sky, but I shall still listen to you. And Nisbo 2.0, says Shane. And who got injured? It was Tate McDermott, who did end up with the injury. So Ryan Lonergan comes on as replacement halfback for the Australians. And run it straight, says Neve there. Okay, Piardi just giving a little bit of a warning to both sides to make sure that they are on the right mark. Well, this one, about 12 metres out from the try line. Throwing the ball, and Billy Pollard goes to Harry Wilson. Now O'Connor finds Fraser McWright. Tackled by his opposite number, Artie Savia. If Australia want a really good chance in this game, they do have to fire back relatively soon. Now, Harry Potter. A little bit of go forward there for him. He's not the biggest player out there on the field, but actually chose the run very strategically. Made an extra 5 all. Little bit of a counter ruck there from Cody Taylor, causing a nuisance and managing to get the steal for New Zealand. Geordie Barrett going for the kick behind. It is curling towards the touchline, and it is just about going to go out. Yes, it does. And now Australia losing a bit more in terms of the distance. So they need to keep at least 14 points lead at halftime, and New Zealand starting off strong. And also, does anyone know what's happening to Rico? Have I missed something? So he is heading over to Leinster relatively soon for a sabbatical. He also was a little bit out of form out on that left wing side now that Clark is back from injury and Carter is playing the way that he is. It does seem like Rico has become that kind of third choice option. But yeah, he is going to Leinster soon, so they probably won't use him a huge amount before then. Maybe 1 or 2 games thrown in there. A bit of a clean out there from James Slipper on Tyrell Lomax. Almost turned it into a croc roll on Fraser McWright. Got to be very careful doing that. And there's a knock on from Lonergan in the breakdown. And thanks, Hamish, says Delane. In fact, might not even be a knock-on. Might have just been the 5-second clock from the referee. He said you took too long, so it is going to be the scrum now for New Zealand. And we have there, no mistake on debut, says Rodney. Possession at the moment, 71% for New Zealand. 61% territory, and time in opposition, 22. 2 minutes 42 for New Zealand, compared to just the 12 seconds that we have seen from the Australians. Meters made, New Zealand have had 364. Australia have had less than the 100. It looks like Alan Alatoa at the moment is warming up. Is that maybe another injury to Taniela Tupou? She had a fair share of them. Awesome Cody, awesome leader, leading by example. Yeah, he's taken a huge amount of collisions. Oh, okay, so he's actually picked up another cut maybe an elbow to about there, Cody Taylor. So he is already bleeding. He's just come back from a concussion. It looks like he is going to continue in this matchup. And what kind of scrum half-time is that? And also here the All Blacks all the way, or all the win in there too. And also good morning, go New Zealand, says Johan. And of course another match of the Rugby Championship is happening around the corner. South Africa versus Argentina. We are going to be covering that one on the channel too. So be sure to check that out. Also New Zealand versus France will be happening a little bit later on for the bronze final of the Women's World Cup. Also going to be covering that one too. Areka is so incredibly limited as a player. Can't pass, no vision. Bad under the high ball. Does not chase kick. Refuses to make an outside break, says JP Travels. Welcome back, mate. I did see that you removed all your comments on the videos. But I hope you're doing well. Billy Proctor's been solid in this game, though, so maybe they did make the right choice rather than the curveball that I threw. Now Wallace, a teeny little pop pass through the legs. Geordie Barrett going back across to Billy Proctor, who does shovel it on. Geordie Barrett tackled pretty early by the Australians. Now Caleb Clark sitting 30 metres out from the try line. Lack of possession will suck energy out of the Wallabies, absolutely. Now Cam Roygaard, another offload there. Leroy Carter. And New Zealand wins, says Frank. We got a new member as well from David. Thank you very much. You now have access to those emojis on the channel as well. Clark taking another bit of contact. Roygaard taking for that ball in the breakdown. Geordie Barrett hits it up once more. Now Roygaard, Savi, a little bit of a shuffle to the side before he is tackled by James Slipper. Now across, Lomax. Low tackle made by Harry Wilson. McBride almost looking for that steal. That is somewhere where he is extremely dangerous for the Wallabies. Billy Proctor takes contact and the penalty goes the way of Australia. And through the side of the breakdown from Tupavai. And it means now will be the penalty to Australia. Rego should stay in Ireland to play for Leinster, wait 5 years, and play for Ireland. So here's Johnny Blaze. Well, the thing is, Geordie Barrett went to Leinster and came back and became a little bit undeniable. So if Rico did the same, I feel like it would only be a beneficial thing for the Kiwis. I'm watching the grand final. What happened? Who scored? So far we've seen the two tries, Caleb Clark and Leroy Carter. The two have managed to score the tries. Currently 22 minutes through. Oh, this is interesting. It was a penalty up against number 5. So Harry Wilson just said someone hit him in the head, I think is what he said there. Names the current stats, Hamish. Please give the halftime stats too, please, says Roy. When it is halftime, we will give the halftime stats. Bro, your 4-head is so big. Why didn't you call it a 5-head then? You had the golden opportunity and you blew it. We have got their fast game suited to the ABs. Love your work, mate. Watching at a bar in Vietnam with no sound. So thanks for the commentary, says JP. Yeah, it is still greatly appreciated. I know that the Ioane pick, like, I'll be honest, my team normally wouldn't have Ioane either, based off current form, but I know that he is one guy that you really do not like to see in the All Blacks. So, of course, there were going to be little disagreements, but, you know, it's still great to have you here for these streams. So they are just looking at this in the breakdown, but Taniela Tupou, it's actually been overruled and going the way of New Zealand now in the breakdown. There might be a yellow card, says Warsaw, now sitting about 10 metres out from the line. How was Caleb's performance? He scored the early try. He did help win an aerial ball. Other than that, hasn't really touched the ball out on that wing, other than one or two other little runs. Nicely taken by Fabian Holland. Now sitting 1, 2 metres out from the 5 metre line. New Zealand not really going anywhere with this maul. Now going off to the right. Chance here again. Geordie Barrett. That's a big shot from Harry Potter. It was also a little high. Roygaard skip pass goes over the head of Leroy Carter, or at least it bounces to him, over the head of Will Jordan. Now popping it up again. Bowden Barrett. 2-man tackle in by Jorgensen and Harry Wilson. 23 minutes through. The All Blacks still in firm control of this game. Caleb only does one good thing. Each half then goes to sleep, says Mark. Well, to be fair, the All Blacks haven't gone out to that wing as of yet. Here we go. Now it's going his direction. Passing one more. Will Jordan can shovel it on. Passes over the top. In fact, it's Artie Savia now who finds himself out on the wing, testing out the step. Only 2 metres short for Savia, and brilliant leg strength to be able to cut back inwards. Now pick and go with some of the big forwards now for the New Zealanders. They are sitting 2 metres out from the try line. This ball's somewhere buried in that breakdown. Simon Parker tries to step, can't quite reach out. No advantage. Oh, in fact, no, now there is an advantage. Short ball to Lomax, who goes over, but he is just held up by Daniela Tupou, so has to fire the ball back, but Tupou may have injured himself in the process there. Between the sticks, Cam Roigard pick and go, and he gets his try. Return from injury for that man too, and the players who are back are certainly making an impact in black for New Zealand. But Roigard, 24th minute of this contest. That is now the third try. For now, New Zealand do sit with a bonus point in the way the Rugby Championship sits. Is Caleb Clark 100 plus kgs? I think so. I think he's about 105 or maybe even a little bit heavier than that. In fact, he was, but he slimmed down, so he might actually be lower. I might be being a little bit too harsh on him. And a good says Pepe there, number 9 on fire. So yeah, Cam Roigard gets himself the try. What a tackle from Tupou. Yeah, 100% saved a try from Tyrell Lomax. But unfortunately, just a couple more phases for New Zealand was all it took to be able to break through and get themselves another try there. That one's going over from Beauden Barrett too, so now the lead sitting 20 points to 3. Now New Zealand can still not get complacent though, because there was a certain side, even in this Rugby Championship, who had a 22-point lead over the Australians. And from there, they did score 38 unanswered points. Do we need a 25-point lead at halftime? Being that Australia's finished so strongly, we've been fading so badly of late. I would say, I said it earlier on, 10-point lead with 10 minutes to go would almost be enough. But anything less than that, Australia right in it. So, you know, New Zealand, they've got a couple changes off the bench. Big Paddy Tuipulotu is back there. But, yeah, I think anything more than 20 would certainly make them feel safe. But not completely up against this Wallaby side. Beauden Barrett down. Says BG there. Now back to Beauden Barrett. Does kick it up high. Doesn't manage to find the touchline. Caleb Clark trying to slap it back. It's nicely taken by Max Jorgensen. Just as after 4 pass, I was allowed against Argentina, says Jackal's World. Now passed out wide. Corey Toole was a bit of a bounce pass. Tackled by Leroy Carter. 2 men from the 7th circuit. Harry Potter trying the kick down the wing. Beauden Barrett running after that one and scores it. Yeah, no, he's hurt himself here, Beauden Barrett. Looks like some sort of maybe rib injury, I would have to guess. I'm trying to work out where he's trying to hold here, Beauden. He's sitting on 141 matches. Oh no, shoulder. It must be contagious for the Barrett family. Scott is out for this game due to a shoulder injury here. And yeah, that doesn't look good for Beauden. When he forced it down straight away, was grimacing. And we have got there, was always in the stands during the finals, says Pepe. Yeah, they did show Roger Tuivasa-Sheck there just before. A redemption for the All Blacks, like Bok Giants never die, says Roz. How much do the Springboks need for the championship? They will need a couple big wins over Argentina, definitely if the New Zealanders do continue to play like this. But Beauden Barrett going from the field, and that is going to be for Damian McKenzie. So how much is that going to change this team? Beauden does not look happy at the moment. You know, he's in a bit of pain here, Beauden. I'm trying to work out what arm it is. I think it might... Oh, well, he's just lifted that one. Okay, he's confusing me, Beauden, because I thought it might be the arm that was down, but he was actually like he was swinging it. And then I thought, okay, it's the other arm, and then he went like that. So I'm not sure what shoulder or whether or not it's even shoulder in general, but... Okay, they're just showing there the 4 pass from the Australians, so they have gone back for it. The TMO found it, and it will now be a scrum pick for New Zealand, 40 metres out from the All Blacks line. Pack weights. This is the first scrum of the day, ladies and gentlemen. It's taken 26 and a half minutes. But New Zealand, 926 kgs. Australia, 947 for this match. And Alan and Sanchez, boss, great commentary. And there as well. Now going off to the left-hand side. Chance here to shovel this one on. Caleb Clark with the fin breaking through the tackle of Harry Potter, but then dragged down by Suali'i. Off to the right. Chance here, Geordie Barrett, big collision. Ethan DeGroot. Is it Roigard or Roy? Is it Rigard or Roigard? It's got an O in there. And D-Mac could thrive here. Nature of the game so far looks like it could turn helter-skelter. Yeah, just the tempo that has been played throughout this first 27 minutes. Like, there are going to be some very fatigued players later on. That kick only just finding touch. That was sneaky. That ball actually bouncing in the field of play to then go out. But Ethan Negru, clean out there from Tupavai, just sealing it off. It's about the second or third penalty against him in the breakdown at this point in time. And it looks like there's a little bit of rain falling at Eden Park currently. So a bit more of a slippery ball situation. Could make it difficult. Now ready for the line out here of the Australians. Billy Pollard to throw the ball in. Nicely taken in the rolling maul. Now Pollard breaking off the back. Good flat run from Leonard Cattell. Now chance here for Lukan Salakai Lotto as he is tackled by Tyrell Lomax. Hooper dragged down by Parker. Those two have been going at each other throughout the first 28 minutes as well. Geordie Barrett drags down James Slipper. Now looking to the short side. Thought about the inside pass for Harry Potter, but hangs on to it. 10 metres out for the line. Proctor in the breakdown for New Zealand. And no penalty there. No clear release against Billy Proctor. Okay, I think there was no clear release against Billy Proctor. And now they are kicking this one for the corner here. The Wallabies. One of the last 5 penalties have been against the Australians. The other 4 have been against New Zealand. Their discipline is always a talking point in their game-only try scorers. You put Rigged. Oh, well, I must have had a spelling error. One moment. We'll go like that. We'll go like that. There we go. I'm sure that made you very happy. We have got there, so the ABs are the best again in the world now? No, not by a massive stretch. They still have a lot of work to do. They've had some good moments throughout this game, but Australia are not out of this game whatsoever for this match. And Try Australia says DGB. Do love a good spoiler. But Billy Pollard, the other Billy, in this match, ready to throw this ball in for the Wallabies. And Tupavai going up for the turnover. Couldn't quite get it. Now the rolling maul set for the Wallabies. This will get them right back into the contest as that discipline starts to fade for New Zealand. That is when Australia can mount a little bit of a comeback. Leonard Cattell breaking off the side, just 2 metres short of the try line now. Billy Pollard pick and go. And it will be the first for the Australians of the contest. And that is a big hit back, but New Zealand, their discipline has been lacking. Penalty getting given away by first Tupavai, then Billy Proctor. And then just getting a couple metres from the line. It was always going to be hard to stop them from there. As the commentary, Australian or Kiwi, $100 on it if he's a Kiwi. Says, Simon, I am a Kiwi. We have got there, who's the best in the world now? Jazz Josie. And also we have got there, come on, discipline and control ABs. And defence too slow, says Jimbo. And Shop Bro, love your energy, keep it up. Says Clement there. And we have got plenty more coming up in the near future. Of course, that other game of the Rugby Championship, South Africa taking on Argentina. It overlaps with that World Cup final, but we are going to give updates of the World Cup final while covering that other game. Anyone who is new, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now that try was worryingly soft, and it looks like maybe a head knock for Ethan Negru. I will mention, though, anyone who hasn't hit that subscribe button, be sure to do so. We are back next week, and also throughout the rest of today, we are currently sitting 91 away from 72,500. So while we've got the De Groot concussion, just a head knock between Ethan Negru and Fabian Holland while trying to make that tackle. It's led to him staying down. So Mighty Williams makes his way on. Hello, AB's fan, says Penelope. And good morning, Amish in the chat, says Jimbo. Welcome in. If you are doing well, this ball going high, beautifully taken by Nick Frost, who really has been the target man for the Wallabies when it comes to taking those kickoffs. Harry Wilson. Now, I'm going to be rolling this one back. Ryan Lonergan, he did get timed out the last time that he did go for the box kick, but this time he has got it right. Corey Toole chasing after it. Well taken again by Geordie Barrett. That is his second time under the high ball that he has been able to take it cleanly. Simon Parker. Roygard off to Satiti Tupova. He tries to step. Maybe he's an AU. Says Frank there. And did they miss the kick? They did get the kick over. The scoreboard's just kind of a little bit delayed today for some reason. Now McKenzie, who is already on to the field, that was due to the injury of Bowden Barrett. The extent of that we will find out during the week. McKenzie now going with the up and under. This is a different tactic from New Zealand that we didn't see up until McKenzie made his way on, but it has given the possession straight back to the Australians, and James O'Connor makes an extra 20 or so metres. And we have got the Aussie comeback and beat them. Now I'm showing the $100 or spending the $100 on Weeds assignment, and Lomax down says DG, yeah, looks like maybe finger or wrist or something. It is already heavily strapped as that man only just coming back from his injury. This might be both props gone for New Zealand now. And Boxers Boom is going to be a crack, and we are covering that one. It's going to be an outstanding contest between the two teams. But yeah, Lomax looks like he's struggling to even close his hand at the moment. New Zealand world's worst winners and world's worst losers. Says Shadowman there, and Satiti says Roos Satiti's been absolutely everywhere throughout this first half. And carries Tyrell Lomax already having the 6. He's made 7 tackles and made 37 metres in the process. And we have got there, well, the Aussies come back, like they did with the Box. And also we have got there, where were you 2 weeks ago when our Box demolished the All Blacks? Says Alfredo. And we see it there, just the tackle made on Harry Wilson. Actually a man without the ball. Oh! Did Roigard also hurt himself there? I think maybe that was just a scream because of Taniela Tupou landing on him. Tupou down with a knee injury. So he's stayed down for a bit, but he is back up on his feet. I think New Zealand are going to have to make wholesale changes going into the second half. And great work listening to you in Italy. 2 weeks back listening in Sri Lanka now. Says Tim O'Reilly. So you're covering a bit of turf by the sounds of it, Tim, but it is greatly appreciated. You being here. Now James O'Connor ready to kick this one towards the touchline as New Zealand have yet again given away another penalty. Currently, the penalty count is 6-4 against New Zealand. Possession 67% though in favour of the Kiwis, and Box were a different team last week, says Aaron. And we have got there listening from Fiji. Says I'm trying to get the steal was Tupou. Awkward bouncing ball nicely taken by Lukan Salakai-Lotto. In the line out, Lonergan goes to Harry Wilson again. A flat run, but a great bit of low tackling from Leroy Carter. JOC straight at Satiti once more. New Zealand, they just haven't been able to find that balance of getting the turnover compared to getting penalised, although Wallace Satiti was close to getting it right there. James O'Connor again going back across to Max Jorgensen. Flicks it out the back for Harry Potter. 2-man tackle on him by Tamaiti Williams and Billy Proctor. Now Lukan Salakai-Lotto tackled by Tupou. James O'Connor, McWright now popping him behind. Ikitau finds Joseph Suali'i. Gets through Cam Roigard, but wrestled down almost with a suplex from Leroy Carter. Counter ruck from New Zealand, but leaves a gap on the left-hand side. McKenzie has to tackle tall. 40 metres out from the line in 9 phases in quick succession here for the Wallabies. Now ball's there again. Lonergan goes across. James O'Connor finds Pollard, the lone try scorer. Taylor can't get the steal. At the moment it is great phase play from the Wallabies, who are not giving up possession. Rush defence from Leroy Carter, shutting down Ikitau. And Defence AB says, Dr. Vian, Beard's looking good, Amish. Chicken manure? I didn't know that was a thing. But no, it's just grown. It's pretty much the only thing that's happened with it. Now rolling this one back again, Ryan Lonergan does kick it up high again. Down towards that 22. McKenzie coming forward. It's an aerial challenge. Corey Tall, I believe, did just knock that ball on, but it will be play on. Says Piardi. Cross kick here. Ryan Lonergan going up. Caleb Clark waits for Harry Potter to land. And they'll go back for the initial penalty. And we have there Māori listening from Australia, the longest or the loudest our neighbours have ever been, says Hiko there. Yeah, this Bledisloe game, to be honest, it's brought a lot of competitiveness out of New Zealanders and Australians. We see it there, both men going up for it, and it was dropped. And we'll go back for the initial knock-on. Just talking about that confidence. Just putting together phases when it does matter most. 4 matches, 1 try for Corey Tall, so maybe not quite the same amount of tries that you would expect from a player of his caliber, but there is still plenty of time. I do see that there's another player down this time. I believe it is Billy Pollard, who has stayed down for a little bit. Now we have there Lonergan getting some ball and listening in the bath, says Penelope. Well, please do not charge your phone while listening in the bath and do not accidentally drop it, because I think that's quite dangerous from what I've heard. We're just seeing there the physicality from Leroy Carter, just picking Suali'i up and pulling him down like it's a suplex. I bring back Buck, says Simon. And oh yeah, go the All Blacks. Says Bows for life. And there as well. But 5 minutes remaining in this first half. It says 41, but it's lying. So don't believe it. And Carter putting in some hits. He has been. Every time there's a collision out near that wing, it's normally Leroy Carter. Or at least it has been throughout this game. Good unbiased commentary, very entertaining. Says, oh, that's a name and a half, isn't it? I'll try it. Zefeso Sizu? Is that how you'd say that? Name, hopefully I've got it right now. Backline movement. Will Jordan goes across to Caleb Clark, straightening forward, but again, a nice low tackle made. Little bit of disruption and the breakdown. And Australia get themselves another penalty. Billy Proctor, this time with the side entry. So at the moment, it is the Proctor and Vai disciplinary issue. Oh no, they've penalised Caleb Clark. My apologies that time. There's been a fair share of penalties against those certain players, whereas Ginger Meter Christie, he is missing from this game. We see the return of Ratama off the bench and Roy Guard in the starting lineup. The All Blacks concede many penalties, says Carlos, and it is something that could cost them. Oh, to be fair, no, it is against Billy Proctor. They showed Caleb Clark, but Clark was the man who went into contact. Proctor was the man who went on the side. So that is now 2 against him, 2 against Tupavai throughout the early stages of this game. Come on, the AB's 5 minutes for another 5-pointer, guys. Says Sana. Pollard. Ready to put the ball in again. Currently 36 and a half minutes through in this matchup. And referee has blown his whistle. I think there is a little bit of a problem when it comes to the line out here. In terms of the agreement between the two sides of keeping a gap, they decided, hey, why not just close the gap and see what happens. Can you give us an injury update, please? So Bowden Barrett's off with his injury. Looked like shoulder, but he was moving them not too badly, so I'm not actually sure what the extent is of his. Lomax has continued, even though he's got a bit of a sore hand. Ethan de Groot's off with an HIA. Tupavai's got a bit of a knee injury, but is still playing. And then also, Harry Wilson's just landed on his face. That's got to hurt. But Tate McDermott, the one Wallaby who's gone off with an injury, and that was due to a hamstring issue. Knock-on advantage in favour of the Australians here, sitting 20 metres out from the try line now. They are looking to bring it back to close, heading into the halftime break. Lonergan. Little pop pass on the inside to Ikitau, who gets absolutely flattened. In fact, that time it was Harry Potter taking the hit from Artie Savi. A rush defence from Geordie Barrett. After 10 phases in a row. Lonergan back to Wilson. Pops a short to Slipper. He is driven back by Tupavai again. Leroy Carter, first line of defence, makes the tackle on Taniela Tupou alongside Geordie Barrett. Pick and go. This is quick stuff from the Wallabies. And Harry Potter goes in for the try right at the end of the half. To Mighty Williams in the background has both hands up asking what is going on, because the gaps are opening up and Harry Potter has scored himself the try now. Seems to be a trend at the moment that for Australia it's people with the name P, and for the Wallabies, for New Zealand, it was people starting with C up until Roy Gard kind of ruined it, but his first name's Cam. So there you go. This must be some science behind it, but what a try for Harry Potter, just piercing through and then getting the ball down. Yep, he did get the grounding in the end. There was a little bit of time where it was off the ground. However, their no card so far makes a difference with all 15. It may do, but they have also given away close to double digits of penalties at this stage. That's Leroy Carter off his wing, says Jordan Gill. Although you can't guarantee that Geordie Barrett would have made that tackle initially on Taniela Tupou without the assist from Leroy Carter. And also, when you look at where they scored that try, they didn't actually go fully out to the wing. It was actually next to the breakdown. So you'd have to argue that, you probably want one of your two centres in that scenario. I'm not sure where Proctor was on the defensive line. We have got there, New Zealand need more. New Zealand is less. We're not going to read that one. We have got there, Harry Potter working that magic. And Box 2 weeks ago destroyed the All Blacks' confidence, says David. Now, Australia have got themselves the ball. The score sits 17 points to 20. At this point in time, ball is available for Lonergan, 25 seconds remaining in the second half, just around the corner. Simon Parker and Tom Hooper once again having a little bit of a dispute. They've had a few of those throughout this first half. We've got a game on our hands now, says Don. Absolutely, both of these sides playing like they want to win this rugby championship. Now, New Zealand told to get out of that breakdown. Australia just looking to close out this half. And O'Connor kicks it into touch. The score now 20 points to 17. New Zealand scoring 3 quick-fire tries in the first 25 minutes. Then from there, Australia answering back in the last 20. Is that what we're going to see in the second half as well? Leo Carter came off his wing, says Jordan there. And we have got their great commentary and that shirt, says Timothy. And also we have got there, I hope the ABs don't lose, says one Beer Bosch. And he's on a big league getting smaller. Kangaroo bouncing around, says Ruth. And there as well. And sinking feeling, I miss the days where All Blacks would score just before and after half-time, says JP. Yeah, at the moment, they've got a very good skill of conceding just before the half-time break, allowing sides back into a contest. That is what we are seeing here. And Leroy did great so far. He's been a busy man out there on the field. He's made multiple tackles. Throughout that game, we need Ioane, says Muku. Don't let JP Travels hear you say that, because he not a fan of Ioane. That's a great game so far. We got a draw, so I make $1,000 on my sports bet. Says Rum is raised. I won't complain if the Wallabies win, says Mumbo Jumbo. And a good game looking good, says the AI. And there too. Last week halftime was 10 points to 7. Yeah, so leading by the 3 points to go on to lose that game by much more than that. And come on, New Zealand, says Carol. Australia actually have decent players. Can they keep up the comeback? Well, the trend of this whole rugby championship is Australia have had the best closing 20 minutes of any side throughout this rugby championship in general. Every single game in the last 20, they look like they're going to come back to win. So, you know, I would be very nervous if I was New Zealand looking at the possession stats. You know, the last 10 minutes of the half, Australia had 92% possession. New Zealand giving away repeat infringements, making mistakes. And that were then costing them big time. They have been in the lead for a majority of this game. It says 95%, but I think that's 100% because 0% for the Australians. We have good there. What do you think about Clark? So far, he has had space, but not much impact. Says Mugu, I think he's done all right out on that wing. I do think that the credit does also need to go to Harry Potter, though. The way that he's been able to shut down Clark. Number 12, cut. You like a scone? Says Samuel. I assume you're talking about Lena Cattell. Potentially, unless you're talking about... I think you are talking Lena Cattell. We have got there New Zealand cheating at the ruck, actually getting picked up as a surprise, says LB. And he's a wizard, says JW. As a Bok fan, I am conflicted. I want the Wallabies to win the Eden Park game, but I don't want us to lose the Rugby Championship. Yeah, it's a very tricky decision to make. And I think that a lot of people are currently jockeying between those two options. Yes, says Samuel. So yeah, your number 12, Lena Cattell is his name. You'll have to remember it because he's one of your better players out there on the park. We have got there New Zealand need to score first in the second half. And Cam is the best halfback in the world by far. ABs are looking easy beats these days, says IT respect, and also too many injuries for the All Blacks. Yeah, they've had quite a few throughout that first half. I was listing them just before. We saw Tyrell Lomax staying down with a bit of a hand injury. We saw Ethan de Groot. He picked up a head knock, so he is currently still off the field. Mighty Williams out there for him. Tupavai has a bit of a knee injury by the looks of it, but is playing through it. Bowden Barrett off with a shoulder injury at the moment. And then I think that's all the injuries, to be fair. There's still quite a few. I think this could be a very close game at the end. But have the All Blacks winning, says Vic and Vern in there as well. Yeah, I mentioned about it. If Australia are within 10 at the end of this game, like maybe I'd say 10 minutes to go in this contest, if Australia are within 10, New Zealand will be extremely nervous. How to be done to recover the territory, says Carlos. Yeah, the fact that New Zealand have had so much possession, you know, that's probably the slightly worrying factor, the fact that now they are only ahead by the 3 points. Most tackles made. Billy Pollard sitting there, 16 tackles throughout that first half. 13 for Fraser McWright. Fabian Holland leading the tackling charge with 12 for New Zealand. We also see Cody Taylor, Tyrell Lomax, Simon Parker, and Artie Savia all making 11. Satiti surprisingly only has the 9. I felt like he was probably making about 9 throughout that first 20 minutes or so for the ABs. But I will mention anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are only sitting now 65 away from 72,500. So if you do want to help us get there, please do hit that subscribe button. I'm just about to sneeze, so I will quickly mute. We are good, hopefully. I don't see how this clown Razor can continue coaching. I put 5,000 on Australia because I know Razor is a useless coach. Says ZZ there. And Lonergan got after, or Lonergan came, I assume that's good after a tough start from Samuel. And sick of Billy Proctor, says Sam Greer. Yeah, giving away 2 penalties throughout that first half. In fact, it may have even been 3. I'm just going to look through at a few of the interesting stats as well. That tackle completed one is a big one, though, for Billy Pollard. That is for sure. But penalties conceded. I know that Tupavai also gave away at least a couple. Penalties conceded. Yeah, Billy Proctor 3. Tupavai's only been credited with 1 penalty. Now, I will admit I thought it was 2. And I think it actually is 2. But, yeah, 3 against Billy Proctor is a bit of a concerning number for that man. Where's Whainaunuku? He's not actually eligible. And I know that there's been a lot of confusion around it. But, yeah, he's not actually allowed to play for New Zealand until November. But because of him training in the squad, everyone thought he was available for selection, but they haven't gone through the process of getting a dispensation or like an exemption so that he is able to play. But because of him playing in France, it does mean that he's not actually allowed to play until the end of the Rugby Championship. In November, he will be back in the squad, and he's probably going to get quite a few minutes throughout that time. Box will win, says Thomas, and Proctor off, says Muku there, and All Blacks just don't have it, or don't look as fiery as we used to, very passive. Well, they changed the tactic about 20 minutes in, didn't they? They went from going full-on attack to kind of allowing Australia to get back into it, and you wonder whether or not that was a gas tank thing, maybe feeling like they were going a little bit too quick and wanted to drop it down a little bit. But that's when Australia started putting their foot down and started getting back closer into the contest, go direct and smash them, the All Blacks. And Bot's going to beat Argentina like we did versus New Zealand. Says Brett there, it's no surprise Australia came back and All Blacks go to sleep if Fraser wants answers. It's in the second half here. Script is going well. Says the AI underdog pick. And Bok looked like my after morning stuff. Says lol. And also, no idea. Thanks, Sammy. See, there's a lot of confusion around it, though, because depending on who you talk to, depends on whether they say if Whainaunuku is available. But from what I heard right at the start, and I haven't heard an update since then, it is he's allowed to train with the squad because of that injury cover. But unless they get that exemption, which New Zealand Rugby won't give out because they don't like the overseas players playing in New Zealand. So, or like playing for New Zealand, I should say, up until they are eligible. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to see him next week unless that exemption goes through and something happens, or maybe there's an injury, someone in the midfield combo. But more than likely still have to wait that little bit longer to see Whainaunuku. And an All Blacks kit for New Zealand. They have got Tamati Williams already out there on the field. We saw Fletcher Nall warming up due to the injury of Tyrell Lomax, but he has continued. We saw the injury of Tupavai, but Patrick Tuipulotu yet to make his way on. Peter Larkey's there as the 20. Ratama Tupai and also Damien McKenzie. He is already on due to the injury of Bowden Barrett. Just the one change made by the Australians. That is Ryan Lonergan. The number 21 jersey. He has made his test debut, and that is due to the injury of Tate McDermott. So quite a few injuries throughout that first half, unfortunately, for both of these two sides. Still one more week to come in this Rugby Championship. 10:45 p.m. next week. These two sides are going to be playing off, and then that game between Argentina and South Africa starting pretty close afterwards. We'll be covering both of those games on the channel. That one at Twickenham. So definitely one to keep an eye on for in that regard. Also, November is just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. For the Australians, they have got 5 matches taking place in the November internationals. They are up against Japan, England, Italy, Ireland, and also the French for their final game of the year. That is happening on the 23rd of November, New Zealand time. For the Kiwis, they have got 4 matches up against the Irish, Scottish, English, and the Welsh. And that one also taking place on the 23rd of November. We have got their box will die tomorrow. And we have got their New Zealand need to change that dumb rule, says Derek. How's Satiti going? I think he's still recovering from knee injury. He hasn't been the same since knee injury last year, says Lemon Cheesy. He's looked all right. He's made 9 tackles. I actually thought he made a lot more throughout that first half, but he's been having a great battle with Harry Wilson. Those two seem to be going back and forth out there. Same with Tom Hooper up against, it was Simon Parker. That seems to be another one. We haven't seen a huge amount of Fraser McWright yet, but that's normally concerning because when you don't see Fraser McWright, that means he's normally getting ready to really have a big moment. Roygaard passing too much. He must box kick, says Abu there. And also we have got there props to Joe Schmidt. Really pulled Oz back to form. Tupavai seems to have been an expensive player and adds heavily to the poor discipline of the All Blacks. And there's a serious issue in this All Blacks team. It's like they just stopped playing going into half time. The chat is going very quick at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. There's about 100 messages that I have missed here, so I have had to skip forward, but I will go back and read them after the live stream. Of course, anyone who is new, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are 50 away now from that goal that we were looking at before the end of halftime. So if you are watching and you do have a YouTube account, it is free to do, and you will get notified of the next live streams that we've got coming up. We're covering the Black Ferns taking on France for the Women's World Cup third place playoff game. Also, South Africa versus Argentina. It will be covered on the channel too. And then later on tonight, we've got Samoa versus Chile. And that will actually be tomorrow morning, and that is a Rugby World Cup qualifying game. I don't know whether the World Cup would feel the same without a Samoan team, so they've got to try and get themselves the big win there, although Chile definitely deserve a chance after how they played. And their last match, New Zealand aura is gone, and they must start playing with the lower teams, not the big boys. So here's VVVVV. Well, they probably have done the opposite. They've decided to tour South Africa next year, which is why we haven't got a Rugby Championship for next season, unfortunately. The Aussies probably believe they can win. ABs need to kick up the butt, says Solid Shorts. And this is where we need to see either Artie Savia or Scott Robertson give the team a little bit of stick at halftime and say, look, boys, you've gone into sleep mode. You know, you're in an Eden Park test match, yet you've gone into almost complacency just because they scored 3 early tries. This game is not over. New Zealand, if they want to win the Rugby Championship, they need to make up points differential. And to be able to do that, they would need also that bonus point, 3 or more than the opposition. Do people even want old school tours anymore? The thing is, it's one that some people are happy about, but more people are not happy about it because they know that it's going to kill off the Rugby Championship with the lack of Rugby Championship we're going to have anyway. Do you think Leicester could be a good option at 13? When he returns in November, when he's eligible, absolutely. I think that Razor won't hesitate to chuck him in there. But I'm curious to know who he goes with at 12, whether or not they go with the two big boys in the midfield combo of having Geordie Barrett and Leicester, or whether they look at kind of muddling it up a little bit and maybe you go Fine Arnuku alongside Tupaia and try and keep this combination together. Although Proctor giving away 3 penalties here really hasn't been helping his case. You know, it is a shame because we're still waiting for the chance of him to really step up and have that solid game, but I think we might be waiting a little while. We have got there, it's too late for this team. Something is wrong and they show signs of fixing it. And also we have got there swapped playing loser Oz, says Carolyn. And a draw would be great here, agreed Glenn. And the All Blacks struggle because the Box don't play in the Super Rugby competition, says Jacques in there as well. And we have got there, yes, Hamish Razor and Artie and senior ABs must step up and control team discipline for the second half. Yeah, because if New Zealand get a yellow card, this game could be done and dusted. The last time that New Zealand lost up against Australia, it was 2020 on Australian soil. And guess what happened? Red card for Ofatuanga Fasi, yellow card for Scott Barrett. The All Blacks have had games many times over where a card has cost them. We have got there, this is the first half team playing a second half team, and the Wallabies have the better record. Says Socks there. And also we get to see a new Midland lose again, says Levi. I hope you didn't spend too much coming up with that nickname. We have got there, great necktie, says Gregory. Thank you very much. And also we have there, take Proctor off, says Roof. So you're thinking Proctor off to Tupaia on maybe? In which case, do you play him as the 13 or do you make a little bit of a reshuffle? And be like Rassi, bring on 15 new players next week. Says Daniel, the Bucks struggle to win the Super, says Pepe. The thing is, if New Zealand lose this game, they may actually consider going with the switches. But at the same time, I think if they win, they'll still stick with similar heading into that next match. Was there a card? There is not a card yet, but there will be if New Zealand keep on giving away as many penalties as they did throughout the first half. Can Tupaia play 13? He can, but he hasn't played a huge amount of it throughout his international career. I think throughout his whole career, he's played at maybe 20% or somewhere around there. The last 20 minutes will be hard. And Simple Fix, just put Ioane back in at 13. Says Hopes of a Nation. Imagine the All Blacks struggle with forwards and with backs. Stop with Razor out. Says Driss. Now second half very close to starting up here, ladies and gentlemen. Eden Park, the record on the line. 20 points to 17. The way that this game sits at the moment. The two sides back out on the turf. 3 tries for New Zealand. Clark in the 4th. Carter in the 14th. Cam Roygard in the 25th. But the last 10 minutes of the half, we saw 2 tries from the Australians to get them right back where they would want to be. And Driss is stirring the pot. And Tupaia 13, Ioane 11, Clark 14. 12 Barrett for the next game, says Muku. And also, how many points does each team get when it ends in a draw? I believe they would get 2 or 3, I believe. I think it's 2. But if you're within 7 of each other, I guess you might get that technical bonus point, or maybe that cancels itself out. So yeah, 2 or 3. We have you listening late night from Colorado in the USA. Says Andrea there. Right. Very happy face there from the Australian assistant coach. And Springboks win the championship if this game is a draw. Says Dwayne. I genuinely think Tom Hooper could be a World Player of the Year nominee. The guy is super impressive. He is. And he often gets overshadowed in terms of what Harry Wilson and Fraser McWright does. But he's just a quiet workhorse. He'll go about his business. He's handled Simon Parker pretty well here. And also is great in a line-out. Solid in a breakdown too. We have there, Hamish, why don't you put brands behind you instead of stadium? You could get dollars. I don't know what brands would want to advertise with me, though. That's the only thing. Like, I could have little pop-ups in the top corners, perhaps. Show us the TV, says Jesse. Sadly, if I was to do that, any licensing, any match footage or audio would get us taken straight down off YouTube. But now, ready to go for the second half. James O'Connor kicking it off. And the Bledisloe Cup currently separated by just the 3 points. Well taken by Geordie Barrett outside of the New Zealand 22. I put $1,000 on Australia to win, paying $6. Says Senorita there. You'll definitely be hoping for the Wallabies upset. This one's gone high. Leroy Carter going up for the ball. Can't quite get a hand to it. Billy Pollard. Now Max Jorgensen. A little bit of hesitation of whether or not to kick or run. Back across to the right. Lonergan finds Pollard again. He made the most tackles out of any Wallaby and out of any player in this match throughout the first half. Also managed to score himself a try as well. I do see that Angus Bell is on the field. That is for James Slipper. Harry Wilson, flat attack and run. Low tackle made by Cody Taylor. Zane and Gore also on the field for the Australians. So they have made quite a few changes heading into the second half. Oh, a little bit of a slip there for Leroy Carter. Well handled by Geordie Barrett, though. He's had a good day at the office under the high ball. I believe he's taken about 4 throughout this contest already. Hello from Sydney, says Bite, welcome in. Oh, time to get out of there. One of the Aussie players, currently 41 minutes through in this matchup. Roy Guard just selling the dummy, getting Nick Frost to run too quickly. Oh, Geordie Barrett that time going up for that. Looked like that would have hurt for James O'Connor, and now he's getting run over in the breakdown too. The penalty does go the way of the Wallabies. Very useful to know how the game plays when you can't see the live game. Says Clear in there too. And also, yeah, boy, go New Zealand, says Tyrone. But no clear release coming from New Zealand. Jesse has said, awesome commentary, sign this man. Thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated, your generosity. The double the penalty count now for New Zealand. 8 compared to the 4. And busy dozen hours for the Kiwi Boys Rugby Channel. Says Odin, yeah, there's plenty more coming. New Zealand versus France in the Women's World Cup bronze final. Alongside that, I'm also going to be covering the matchup taking place between, big collision for James O'Connor in the air. But also covering South Africa versus Argentina. And then alongside that, I have Chile versus Samoa in the Rugby World Cup qualification. They're just talking about the second 40 minutes being a bit of a problem for the New Zealanders. Oh, and that is going to be a not straight throw from Australia. Billy Pollard, one of his first mistakes of the day. And good time to play rugby in New Zealand. Sunset looks beautiful, says Johnny. Oh. Okay. Interesting. So Piardi there, New Zealand wanted to take a quick tap, and Piardi pretty much said this isn't Super Rugby. So you're not doing that. Although I don't know whether or not they can do that in Super Rugby either, can they? But maybe. And funny, that's the same James O'Connor, famously hunted down Tommy Bowe from 80 metres out. He's been around a bit, says Jimbo. Yeah, James O'Connor is a veteran of the game. He probably hasn't got as many Aussie caps as you would expect, but of course that is due to some of the players that they've had throughout that time. Someone like a Quade Cooper, Bernard Foley, those type of players have had a lot of caps. And speak up, Artie, discipline for the ABs. And final prediction, my final one, I think I went 24-17 in favour of New Zealand on my preview. So at the moment, I was close to the halftime score. I'm not sure about the full-time score though. Will Jordan going out to Caleb Clark, breaks through the tackle of Potter this time, but the second man, Suaalii, managing to make it. Leroy Carter pick and go. And driven down by Lenikitau. Still close enough. McKenzie rushed the fence. Bowden, Barrett. In fact, this time it is Geordie. Of course, Bowden off the field earlier on. McWright gets that steal that I mentioned about when he doesn't get one in the first half. He's normally brewing to try and get that next steal, and that is exactly what he's been able to do there. He will be more than happy with managing to get that one. We have a go there. This game will be tight. Show us your pants, Hamish, says Joe. I would rather not. Not because I don't have them on, but more so because if I stand up, I always say it, it's pretty much just at crotch height. And that feels a little bit not PG. And ABs are too soft, says IT. We have a go there. South Africa, we're watching nicely. Yeah, this game was one that a lot of South Africans were keeping an eye on just to see whereabouts the Rugby Championship was sitting. Currently, they'll be looking at this pretty confidently. The way that it currently sits. O'Connor is the difference in the Wallabies team, make him the captain. Says Jacques there, nicely taken by Nick Frost at line out time. 30 metres out from the line for the Wallabies. Now Leonard Cattell, little pop pass up to Tom Hooper, moving into the 22, Geordie Barrett, looking like he was staying down with a bit of a shoulder injury, or at least a hand injury this time, turnover in the breakdown for New Zealand. Tupovai manages to get it. It's New Zealand home or away. They are at Eden Park, so they are firmly at home. And Fab commentary, go the ABs, I'm quietly worried. Probably rightly so. Because, you know, we're in the scenario here. Yeah, Caleb Clark with a bit of a hobble, says DG. And there's a bit of a concern here for New Zealand as well. He's only just come back from that ankle injury. Yeah, nah, just a big ugly clean out there. Australia just throwing players in the breakdown, and I think it did flatten Clark at an awkward angle. Oh no, in fact it was that collision with Suali'i as he dragged him down, just landing awkwardly on the ankle. He's going to try and run it off here, Clark. In fact, someone else is already being replaced. Quinn Tupai is on. Is that for Caleb Clark? It might be. That'll be an interesting switch here for the Kiwis again. Hi from Tauranga says, Carol, welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well now. Looking for the line out. New Zealand sitting 32 metres out from their own line. Lukan Salakai Lotto trying to be a bit of a nuisance in the breakdown. Harry Wilson looking for the steal. He's almost managed to tie that ball in there, and he does, but the penalty goes the way of New Zealand. Very good commentary watching from South Africa says Jacques, and we are, of course, going to be here for that match between South Africa and Argentina too. So anyone who hasn't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to hit the like on the live stream as well. Look at that. That's a bit fancy, isn't it? Little pop-up thing there. But yeah, be sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already. We've got plenty more coming up in the near future. Oh, it even does the little ringy bell. Does that just stay there? I don't know how this works. That was the first time I've put it up in about 2 months. Oh, they're saying maybe Australia a bit hard done by in that penalty, but Roy Guard back across Leroy Carter in the middle of the field. I'm going to stop that from popping up because it's distracting me. Satiti running straight at Tom Hooper. Oh, that's a very good body position, but no clear release against the Aussie Six. And watching the game from Durban, says Robin, New Zealand have lost so much experience in the past few years, but one thing we have not been good at in ages is changing tactics and adapting on the fly. Now, Damian McKenzie, do they take on the 3 points yet? Pointing at the post, Artie Savia, it seems like they are going to be opting for the extra points available. Scoreboard, there we go. It is now starting to work it out. And just in the breakdown, yeah, no clear release from Tom Hooper. He was locked and loaded, though. He was ready to try and get that steal, bring on Lakai and Tuipulotu. We need that island strength. So who are you putting Lakai on for? You putting him on for Parker, for Savia, or for Satiti? We have got there a South African rooting for the ABs. Says Jolly there. Are you the same, though, how you don't want the All Blacks to win by too big of a margin so they don't get the bonus point from this game? I've heard that is quite the common hope from this game. 3 points, of course, says Mark. Now McKenzie. Need to line up this kick 48 minutes through. Watching from Zurich. Says Steve, and it's a strike of the ball straight down the middle for Damian McKenzie. Making the score now 23-17 after 48 minutes in the contest. Now, the scoreboard was actually high. Or, sorry, not high. It was forward or quick in the first half. That's the word I was after. Second half, it's running a little bit slow. Taking a shot, they certainly are. Now, how about you just turn the screen so we can watch too? That would be fun for about 5 seconds until we get copyright struck by Sansa and banned and sued. All kicked out on the full from the Australians. Kiwis, don't forget to put your clocks forward tonight. Yeah, we're going to do a bit of time travelling later on. I believe it's just after we finish one live stream. Initially, there would be an hour 40 break, but it becomes 40 minutes because of the daylight saving. Watching from Shanghai, China. So the times are good for me, says Claire. So what time is it in China at the moment? Claire, do let me know. Morning, Big Rig Joe. And take any points given, says Mashihu. Yeah, they're still yet to update it, but they are sitting 23 points to 17. That would be fun, says one Pierre Bosch. And maybe the guy doing the scoreboard was high, says Daryl. Maybe. Is it not allowed? It's not. No, sadly, it's illegal because of copyright infringement. Sky Sports, Stan Sport, and all those companies pay a lot of money to have exclusive broadcasting rights. So any match footage you show, you're gone straight away. Banned for 3 months and potentially lose your channel, which would be unfortunate because I sit here for too many hours on the weekends and I'd have no idea what to do with myself. The Wallabies need Nick White back. Yeah, although to be fair, they wouldn't have been wanting that early Tate McDermott injury. And I do think that Ryan Lonergan, this is certainly going to be a test for him, seeing as his first match is at Eden Park, drop Razor, not international coach material. Says Mr. Kiwi for life, and it looks like the bench for New Zealand is about to be possibly a little bit impactful here. It looked like Tui Pelotu was warming up. Mighty Williams smiling in the face of a couple of the Aussie players. Now, I wouldn't get too confident if I was Mighty Williams. He was a part of a front row last game that got absolutely decimated at scrum time, and he's supposed to be a big player. Thank you for commentating, guy. Watching from Fiji, says Vitiali, or Vitilai. Hopefully I said that correctly. I do apologise if I have mispronounced that though. Go on to the right-hand side. Now McKenzie passes one more. Billy Proctor inside ball to Will Jordan. Tackled very early by James O'Connor, but he could see exactly what gap New Zealand were trying to hit. Shoveling it on was Tupove. He was close to forward. Yes, it was. Now go back now for the scrum. Once again, the AB's just not quite on the same page when they were attacking. And we have got there who just scored from the ABs. So McKenzie got himself the 3 points. But the 3 tries that we've seen so far, we have seen Cam Roigard, Caleb Clark, and also Leroy Carter. 2 tries for the Aussies, Billy Pollard, as well as the last-minute try in the first half being scored by Harry Potter. And good evening. I'm glad you're doing great this week, or next to your life. And we have got there, where's the ball now? The ball's going to be in the hands of the Australians, sitting about 40 metres out from their line. Right, Lomax is off for Null. Vai is off for Tui Pelotu. That is a big change now. Is Tui Pelotu up for this game? Because if he is, could certainly bring that extra impact later on in this matchup. Come on, the All Blacks, says Denver there. And South Africa Sports New Zealand, says Bogiso there. And supporting the AB, says SC Jones. But of course, not too much that they get a bonus point, because or else then New Zealand would sit as potential favourites for the Rugby Championship. By Hamish listening in. South Africa, good haircut. It was down to the fact that South Africa managed to get themselves the win up against New Zealand a couple of weeks ago. We hit that light goal too. And now, Ryan Lonergan going to the short side. Bit of a step from James O'Connor. Wrestled down on the halfway line. You could see Carter and the intent of wanting to get in that breakdown, but just not quite finding the opportunity. Now a bit of a spin haul diving off the feet from Salakai Loro, but Null did pull out. Now rolling this one back again, put Tui Pelotu on. He's already on. He just came on for Tupove. Lena Cattell popping it up to James O'Connor. Another low tackle, another offload to Harry Wilson. Isolated, and Savia trying to get the steal, but he's been penalised for it. Ball was loose and did go off his feet as he did regather it, and they'll go back for the Wallabies penalty. And I just woke up, says Mason. We have got there too much flat passes. If you don't make the most of it, they are getting their ass kicked, says Ronnie. And watching from Tokyo, coverage a couple of minutes ahead of yours, Hamish, says DG. Yeah, see, Sky Sport now are normally a little bit slow. South African population, 64 million, says Katurv. And we look at the ABs need a bigger point buffer to face the last 20 minutes. Yep, 100%. I mentioned about it earlier on. If New Zealand are not up by more than 10 points going into the final 10 minutes, oh, that's a mistake from James O'Connor. Doesn't find touch with it. That can be a brutal one. That's actually the second time that we haven't seen them find touch, the Aussies. But yeah, if New Zealand don't lead by more than 10 in the final 10 minutes, I could see them losing those last 10 minutes of the game. McKenzie Going off to the left-hand side, finds Geordie Barrett. He's decided to run it. He's got Proctor on his outside. He's just going to keep on going. Barrett eventually was dragged down by Fraser McWright. Now Cam Roygaard looking to the short side. Almost gives the referee a ball bag to the head. Piatti was doing well to dodge it. And now, Quinton Tupaia, big bump off of Ryan Lonergan, getting through his first kind of contest of the match. And that is going to be the penalty now for New Zealand. That's how you run the ball. Your name is Hamish, Hamish or Hamish. So it is the first one out of the three. Did you say managed to get the win? My man, All Blacks were destroyed. Say what it is. Says Jose. Did you say managed to get the win, my man? Which game are we talking about, Jose? I assume you're talking to someone in the chat because I never said anything about New Zealand getting the win. I said that if they were leading by more than 10 points in the final 10 minutes, they've got a good chance of winning. Time to full time. Still another 26 minutes remaining, and New Zealand again are looking at the 3 points. Going a little bit more defensive, you could argue, but it is probably a pretty good tactic at the moment. But James O'Connor, that would have been a 5-metre line out had he managed to find touch, but we already see that impact of Tupaia. And then McWright getting in there without a player rolling away. And 26-17 says DG. You see, my prediction for this game was 24-17. So I might be a little bit off here. You know how many South Africans is watching the game in our country right now? That's why we know our rugby. Says Mario, and that one has gone over from Mackenzie, adding the additional points. New Zealand back to the 9-point lead now, 26 points to 17. And ABs must capitalise on Wallabies coach killing errors. In desperation, they need to win, says Mark. Morning, Hamish from Kev. And Northumberland in England. Not a fan of the Aussies, but got to admire how they come back. Yeah, they just turn it on for the final quarter of any game that they're playing. And throughout this rugby championship, they've had more tries in the final 20 minutes than any other side. Hamish, are you satisfied with the way the All Blacks are playing? I think that they've had better games. Oh, another penalty this time going against Australia for playing the man in the year. This is just repeat infringements at the moment. This time against Lukan Salakaia-Lotto. They've caught that bug that the All Blacks had in the first half, and it is contagious in the second. We have got there. New Zealand Rugby can collapse after beating Australia, please. And 9 points lead, not safe. I got to get at least one more try. And the thing is, for New Zealand, if they score 2 tries from here and Australia score none, that would give them a bonus point. And that could be absolutely crucial if they do want to go on to win this rugby championship competition. And 4 pins in 9 minutes, Australia look tired. They may look tired now, but they always seem to find that net scare for the final 20, or at least that is the trend in this rugby championship. Awkward bouncing ball for Cam Roygaard after a contested line-out. But New Zealand have the ball again. Satiti went quiet after that first 20 minutes. Roygaard going for the box kick. Was called for from some people from half-time, saying that they needed a little bit more. That ball goes straight back into the hands of Australia, and New Zealand give up the possession. Angus Bell now sitting about 45 metres out from the line. Alan Alalatoa, JOC, goes to Ikitau. Tackled by to Mighty Williams. Come on, boys. Oh, and it's a steal there from New Zealand. Roygaard looking for the 50-22. Kicks it off his left. That ball rolling and does go out. 50-22 for New Zealand. A crucial moment of the game as they retain their kick. But it was the steal and the breakdown. Then Roygaard just got a really generous bounce as it kept on rolling towards the sideline. Foot race would have been interesting had it stayed in the field of play, because it was Will Jordan versus Lukan Salakaia-Lotto, and they were actually going neck and neck in that sprint race. Let's go, Roygaard. Says Dominus there. Yeah, 55 metres made for Cam Roygaard. 1 line break, 1 try for that man. And now New Zealand have got themselves the line out, sitting about 20 metres out from the line. It'll be hard to predict a draw, says Sergio. Yeah, unless Australia started going a little bit more negative and looking for the 3-pointers here, which they may look for 1 for the sake of getting back within the 7. I think New Zealand, they are chasing nothing but 7s now from here on out. Try and secure this game and potentially the bonus point as well. Artie Savia back across Roygaard. Goes to Damian McKenzie. Puts on the wide pass to Will Jordan. Cutting back in. Joseph Suali'i making the tackle on him. Iketel trying to get the steal and the breakdown. He's on the wrong side, and that's going to be another advantage in favour of New Zealand. Artie Savia pumping his legs. Gets 3 metres out from the line. Crowd starting to get behind the Kiwis. Billy Proctor being folded in half like a deck chair. 5 metres out from the try line. Roygaard back across to the left. Skip pass from McKenzie. So much space, but Quinton Tupaia little bit of white line fever, and he does knock it on the ground. They'll go back for the penalty. That was a golden chance to go out wide, but they did end up blowing it. It's a rough scandal or schedule for the Aussie, says Alan there. Right, Australia giving away 6 of the last 7 penalties. The referee now having that all crucial conversation take Proctor off. They actually can't. There's no other replacements other than Ratama as the other option due to Bowden Barrett's injury as well as Caleb Clark's. Australia has caught up in the penalties. Says Orion Lyon. It's a fun name. How we have there, killing me Quiddy says Rugby Mad. Yeah, they had about 4 on the outside that they could have just shoveled their hands through. Looks like New Zealand looking at a quick tap option here, something that you don't see too often from the ABs. Artie Savia tapping it, goes across to Satiti. 5 metres out from the try line, becomes 2. Now Roigard off to Cody Taylor. In fact, skips him. Savia, a bit of a rough pass. Has to clean it up 5 metres from the line. McWright onto the ball. No, doesn't get the steal. And look, Salakai Lotto to get out of it, says Piardi, the referee. 7 metres out from the line. Great defence at the moment from the Wallabies, who do not want to give up on this chase. Geordie Barrett, another carry for him. Roigard, pop pass from Will Jordan. Big bump off from Simon Parker on Potter. It's almost a tongue twister when those two are going head-to-head. Now Tui Pilotu, his first carry since getting back into an All Blacks kit, with the exception of that take off the kickoff. 5 metres still from the line. 7 phases in a row for New Zealand. Roigard back across to the right-hand side. Parker goes short to Satiti, his Chiefs teammate. Now Roigard finds Billy Proctor, pops it up to Geordie Barrett. That will be the Hurricanes midfield combo this upcoming season of Super Rugby. Quintupoia, couple metres out, tackled by Toole. No penalty advantage given away as of yet. Satiti wanted to reach out, but he is short again. Leroy Carter, pick and go. He might be held up by the Australians. He is. Brilliant defence from the Wallabies. It may have worked last time for Carter, but it doesn't work twice in a row. And that is survival at its finest from Australia and New Zealand. That is now 2 or 3 tries within the last 2 minutes that they have blundered. And that is not what you can afford to do up against a side who love to score points in a final quarter of a contest. Well, Jordan for the next try, says Zion, you must score ABs, says Sana. It will be the goal line dropout, and we are now into the final 20 minutes. This is where Australia have scored more points than any other side in the Rugby Championship. Can they do it again? O'Connor kicks it off long. And a really steep bounce there. Awkward bouncing one for Damian McKenzie, who pops it up to Satiti. And come on, the Aussie, says Mitch. And also Jordan could get ball. Now Geordie Barrett. No, look, pass. Brilliant work from Wilson, who gets the ball back for the Aussies. Fabian Olin, though, in the breakdown. Can't quite manage the steal. Lukan Salakai Lotto. James O'Connor. Interception was almost on the cards, but it's taken by Toole. Gets the offload to Akatau. Bumps off Fletcher Null. Offload on the inside to James O'Connor, who's in a driving tackle from Geordie Barrett. Counter ruck from New Zealand. Crowd are booing it, thinking maybe there was a tip tackle there, but now open space. Billy Pollard showing pace. Savia slides round beautifully and gets that crucial steal like he knows how. And the skipper now helps with the All Black survival in this one. This has been back and forth well and truly here. How good was Wilson? Yeah, the cleanness of the pickup to then be able to not just take that ball, but then pop it up to a teammate, all in the same motion. I mean, it's not fair the ref giving New Zealand penalties. That should have gone the Australia, says LB. And Robertson needs to be replaced. He's too unprofessional. Last week, lost proves it. Well, they didn't play last week, but the week prior. Up against the South Africans, of course. We have there the steal, says Ruth. Okay, the TMO has just confirmed that Geordie Barrett made a dominant tackle on James O'Connor without the lift above the horizontal. So it is going to be play on, and New Zealand do still have that penalty. Looking towards the sideline. They have to be very careful now with where they are. And there's the tackle. Yeah, not a lot of horizontal for James O'Connor there. Hamish needs a breather after that effort. Now, well done, Artie, says Sana there. Now, chance here. Looks like Ikatau actually going to make his way off the field. That is for, I believe, Tane Edmed Oh, in fact, it could be for Dungunu, and it looks like it's going to be Satiti making way for Peter Larkai. He will get his first minutes of 2025. He's a standout young player. And ICSPK, welcome in. You are doing very well. 19 minutes remaining here. Peter Larkai, what kind of impact can he bring for the All Blacks? The Wallabies good enough to beat the All Blacks, says Alexander. I would say last 20 minutes will tell us, because normally that is when Australia are at their best. Ball chasing there from Max Jorgensen, beautifully taken, and a missed tackle from Larkai to start him off in this game. See there, Jeremy Williams, he has made his way on for Lukan Salakai Lotto. This time Larkai puts in the hit. Oh, that was almost a knock-on the ground from Nick Frost, but does very well to keep it in the chicken wing. Keep it on his side. Ryan Lonergan this time now going for the box kick. Corey Toole chasing after McKenzie. Close to the sideline. Dungunu trying to line him up in the breakdown, getting over the ball. And counter ruck, but the penalty again goes against Australia. Just too many times in a row here we've seen Australia in those breakdowns make mistakes. Hands past the ball for Filippo Dungunu there. And do they even care about beating the All Blacks? Says Alexander. I think they'd like to, but they've given away the last 5 penalties in this contest. Savia may have taken a head knock here, or at least taken a bit of a cut to the side of the eyebrow. And new haircut. Looks like you might have to tighten the headphones after that one, says Mark. So it is down to the forfeit that we had to do when New Zealand did lose up against the South Africans. And Wallace Atiti with the hat trick. Says Cheddar there, although he has made his way from the field now. And Piatti has reffed the breakdown very well, says Jimbo. And running repairs for the ABs. Yeah, it's not very often you see blood coming out of Artie Savia. That's how you know it's been a physical type of contest. Cody Taylor's still out there. It's been pretty decent throughout this game as well. And he will be required for this line out once again. What's the ABs loose forward combination now? Says Eugene. So they've got Simon Parker, Peter Larkai, and Artie Savia. I would assume that maybe Savia will drop to 8, and then they'll put Larkai as the number 7, or they could just straight up go Larkai as that number 8. If it makes it a little bit easier. Are you angry for me, Hamish? Am I angry for you? Why would I be angry for you, Mohadeen? We have got there, TMO still man of the match for the ABs, says Chris, and Artie is a cyborg, says Don. I thought cyborgs had one eye, don't they? Oh no, that's a cyclops, never mind. What's the difference? What's a cyborg compared to a cyclops? That's a question. How long to go? Still another 18 minutes remaining. New Zealand with Damian McKenzie kicking this one into touch. It'll be about 40 metres out from Australia's line. If New Zealand were to score 2 tries here, they would get themselves the bonus point. And we've got there, love the new hairstyle, H. Says Antonio there. His blood is black. Says Jimbo. The sly Aussie commentators not saying anything about Artie's head knock. Cyborg is a robot. Oh, whereas the Cyclops is that big guy with one eye and a club, isn't it? Cyclops is alive. We have got there, can you read my name? Shout out to you, Dixon. There you go. And now Billy Proctor going off to the left-hand side. Will Jordan. Now sitting 42 metres out from the line. Cam Roygaard. Going short side, Geordie Barrett pops it on the outside to McKenzie. They have got Quintabara in the wide channel. Just ends up slipping over. He's driven into touch, and he has got an argument here because he is saying he is tackled while he is grounded. Asking the question whether or not that is allowed to the referees. They do say it is fine here. I assume that is because of the slip, and maybe if the tackle was attempted beforehand. But yeah, we see him go down, and then Tom Hooper does... drive him into touch. That's an interesting rule there. I think you missed the innuendo. I did not. I saw it straight away, which is why I didn't read out the full name. Now Tom Hooper, another crashing run forward. 16 minutes now on the clock. He was in touch. Says one, Pierre Bosch, and come on the All Blacks. One more try for the bonus point, and Jorgensen has been good at fullback. Very solid in that 15 jersey. Why do Aussies chick so bad against New Zealand? Why do Aussies kick so bad against New Zealand, maybe? And also the All Blacks. There's Maravik. And also, do you think Springboks will win the Rugby Championship? I think that if neither of these sides win this game with a bonus point, they're certainly in a good position to be able to do so. Oh, right, Simasoni Tokiaho. It looked like they were about to make that change, but they are waiting just that little bit longer. As Quintabaya contributed anything other than a butcher try, he did break past one defender for his very first run. But other than that, he's made quite a few mistakes. And this time New Zealand having the knock on. And Pumas must win. So here's average guy there. And if the Kiwis win, then a South African win, who will lead the championship. Depends on the points differential as well as dependent on the bonus point situation. New Zealand, if they were to win by this margin, would not get themselves a bonus point. Only person complaining about the referee here is South African. See, it's Floyd Kingy. And we have got there, come on, Australia, we need to score a bit closer. You can still lose by all means, says Marius. And Len Akatau must move to 15, says Aldrun. 15, that's an interesting choice. I would say that Jorgensen's done all right in that 15 jersey today, and Akatau hasn't been too bad in the inside centre role. He has now made his way off the field for Filippo Dungunu. And also, how much points do Springboks need to win? Well, of course, just getting the win will be a crucial one, but it all depends on what the score is. Now, it's going to be a scrum reset. This game's had very little scrums all throughout this match. I think this is only about maybe a third or fourth one. I know Max must play 12 and Len 15. That's an interesting take. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say it round that way. And Mox and the All Blacks are brothers. Says Inchetta there. Even Justin Marshall said the ref was giving New Zealand penalties that should have gone to Australia. Says LB. If you could pick one player from any other country to play for the All Blacks, who would it be? Says JP. That's a tricky one. Because I feel like do you look at the New Zealand side now or do you just look in general? We only need a bonus point and the win for the next game, says Mario. Now ready to feed this ball in. That was almost going to be a free kick to Australia for an early push from New Zealand. This is still using up extra time on the clock though. Up to 66 minutes gone now in this match. I will mention anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are closing in on 73,000. So if you do want to help us get there, be sure to do so. It is free to do. You'll get notified, or you can actually turn notifications off, but you'll get us recommended to you when games of rugby are on. We've still got 3 more games later today that we are covering, including New Zealand versus France for the Women's World Cup bronze final. There we go, fourth quarter points. Australia have scored 57 throughout the fourth quarter. South Africa have scored 47, New Zealand 27, and Argentina 16. They broke the trend. They needed one more point to be able to keep consistent with the sevens to end it off, but that just shows how dangerous Australia can be during this period of time. They will look to really start to get something motoring here. James O'Connor going off to Max Jorgensen, tackled by Proctor, as well as Barrett. Hasn't managed to get the knees down, now is sitting. What's the minutes like? Still another 14 minutes left in this contest, moving up to 45 metres out from the line now, the Australians. James O'Connor across to Frost. Put in a good shift in that number 4 jersey today. Jeremy Williams, he is the other locking option for them in this current point in time. Max Jorgensen as an out-and-out 12. Says Aldran. Is he? See, most people would give him the chance at either 14 or 15. Like, some people said he's an out-and-out fullback. But yeah, not many people have mentioned about him being a 12. What is it about his game that you would say makes him a 12? Out of curiosity. So Aleki popping it up now to James O'Connor, passing on the outside to Potter, who cuts back in, gets around Quintal Pyer, but a nice bit of work there from Billy Proctor. Now looking for the steal and the breakdown, not quite able to get it for the Kiwis. James O'Connor, Angus Bell goes to Suaalii. Been kept relatively quiet throughout this game. That is one thing that New Zealand have done extremely well. Rush defence from Proctor. Quintal Pyer rushes up, makes the tackle on Jorgensen. Now Dungunu slips over. Bit of fortune there for the Kiwis. Now short side again, Harry Wilson pops it up, Jorgensen, one on the outside to Harry Potter, chips it in behind, being chased after it, now 5 metres out from the line, Geordie Barrett, that's a skew whiff sideways kick, and that will now be a 5 metre line out here for the Wallabies. I'll be promoting you to the commentary box in Park one day, and also we have got there, need more depth on the bench, says Simon. He is much stronger than Lennon Hunter, as a power runner. So you're saying that you'd say it's interesting because I feel like they've still got enough 12s at the moment, whereas fullbacks at the moment due to injuries, they haven't really got too many. You know, Tom Wright's out for the season. Andrew Callaway's out for an uncertain amount of time. So who are you playing at 15 instead? You said you'd put Ikitau at 15. Covering the World Cup final or the Pumas Box game, we will be doing the Pumas Box. That is close to the line. And that might just about be held up. But there is the advantage against New Zealand. There's a grounding for the Wallabies. And they have continued the way that they normally do. Second half, They are thriving. And it is Carlo Tizzano, the man who was the leading try scorer in Super Rugby Pacific. Does often enjoy getting over the line just short of it, finding a way in. But now 11 minutes remaining. I mentioned about if New Zealand had any less than a 10-point lead. But, you know, it's definitely going to be close. I speak to you, Kiwi lad, because you're honest. Can't say much for the rest of Kiwis in the chat. Says LB. Although your last 50 messages have been about the ref. So I do think maybe some people are just sick of hearing about it. Like, of course, the occasional criticism to him. But for every single decision, it does seem a little bit harsh on Piatia. I think this has been a hard game to ref, to be fair to him. The way that both sides have been committing in those breakdowns. So there's always going to be a couple decisions that don't quite go the way that teams want them to. But I don't think that it's going to affect the outcome of this game too much. Australia's still well and truly in this match, however, might not be able to catch. Let's go New Zealand, says JE. I'm really surprised ref didn't disallow that, the way he be reffing, says Craft Beer. That's some poor line-out defence. Alarming, says Studs Race. And also Australia can break, says Mohadeen. Australia bought the ref, says Encheta there. Is this at Eden Park? It is indeed, and they are now 2 points down at the moment as your score. Right, not quite. It's still waiting to update, but it is 26-24. But 38 years, 9 months, and 26 days since the Australians have won at Eden Park. And All Blacks don't give up, or don't give them a losing bonus. They were lucky in their last game against Argentina, says Sergio. Now throwing this one in. Still 10 minutes remaining on the clock, ladies and gentlemen, and still only 2 points separating them. Tolkiaho gets through the tackle attempt of Lonergan. What a nail-biter of a game, says Brett. Artie Savia 40 metres out from the line. Quintapai to the Wolves. Says Sonny there. Now McKenzie going back across to the left-hand side. Change the score or on the screen. It is an online scoreboard, so it will update itself in due time. Now Cam Roygaard off to Fabian Holland. 40 metres out for the Kiwis. They need another try now. Update the score. It's an online scoreboard. It updates itself. We're going off to the right-hand side. Artie Savia selling a dummy as if he was passing to someone in the touchline. Corey Toole's smiling about it because he actually got sold as if he was going on the outside. And we have got the Australia hopefully wins this. Says the Essence come on the ABs. Says Lizar. The chance of a bonus point for either one of these teams is pretty unlikely at this point in time, but the penalty just inside of New Zealand's half here. Referee just finding the mark. About 46 metres. In fact, no, sorry, 42 metres or so out from the line. We have good there, you reckon we need a max number of phases for advantage to be over. Going back 30 metres after a minute of play is ridiculous, says LB. I do think that sometimes they do go a little bit far. Knock-ons, they're pretty good with it. But I think if you have any sort of clean break, that should take it away. And it depends on what the interpretation is of a break. Unfortunately, because some referees do see it differently. Penalties conceded 13 against Australia, 10 against New Zealand here. Geordie Barrett is absolutely trash. Tapia to start at 12. Well, Tapia, since making his way off the bench, has blown 2 opportunities to score tries for the New Zealanders and also has made another mistake. But that is not to say that he wouldn't do that in the starting lineup. I think he would be a lot stronger if he was given the chance to shine from the very start of the game. Did he not get the conversion? He did get it over, which is why they are 2 points down from being 9 down before the try was scored. Nicely taken by Tui Piloto in line-out time. New Zealand now with Leroy Carter breaking to maybe 3 challenges there from the Australian defence. Larkai now hitting it up, running straight at Filippo Tangunu. Does he get over the ball? No, just can't quite get their hand on it. Roygaard back across to Samasoni Tolkiaho, who's already added impact since making his way on. Roygaard back across to Larkai. The Canes all linking up together. Now Roygaard to Tui Pilotu. 10 metres out from the line now for New Zealand. If they score now, they may just about win this game. Savia, big collision with James O'Connor. Now, sitting 15 metres out from the try line for New Zealand. 15 metres from the touchline too. So sitting there in a good position on the park to Mighty Williams. Now again, Roygaard. Back across the right-hand side, Geordie Barrett. McKenzie shovels it on there. Quintapai drops. Max Jorgensen down 5 metres out. But what a steal, or no. That'll be a yellow card for Harry Potter. It was not legal. And he is going to the bin now for the final 7 minutes of this contest. Thanks, bro, says Dab Nation. We have got the only one critique game. It's just hard to know where the teams are playing on the field at any given time. Great commentary, bro, says John. So currently the All Blacks, they are sitting 7 metres out from the line with the penalty, 5 metres from the touchline, and they will look, I believe, to kick this one towards the corner. And we have got the unbelievable referee. Total fix, says Kyle there. And our wizard, Harry. Yeah, sadly, Harry has disappeared for the final 7 of this game. I want to see a replay there. I thought he did well, and I thought he almost got that steal, but maybe the hands were down. We're going to see the replay now. Jorgensen getting sat down. Yeah, the hand went down first from Harry Potter, unfortunately. Had he not done that, he would have got a clean steal, but didn't quite get it done. Now Samasoni Taukiaho ready to throw it in, goes to Fabian Holland. Just a couple metres now from the try line here for the Kiwis. 3 tries apiece throughout this game. New Zealand have not scored since the 24th minute of this game. Now breaking off the side, Tokyo, he will be held up. The Aussies are not giving up in this contest. Professional foul, says Sergio. And also, are we there yet? We are not. 6 minutes remaining between these two sides. And again, New Zealand blow a try-scoring opportunity up against the Australians. That is now about the 4th one in the second half. And All Blacks scored, says Clifford. And also, let's break the second-hand curse, says Zara. And also, is that the 3rd hold-up? It is close to it, or at least the 3rd try-scoring blunder that New Zealand have had in the second half. Now, Peter Larkai running it straight. Fraser McWright looking for the steal, can't quite get it, but he has been trying all throughout the second half to get that all-important steal. Geordie Barrett there running sideways at the moment. Tupai straight in, goes to Roygaard, who will score it between the posts. And I believe it was just backwards enough for Roygaard's second, and New Zealand may have just taken this game. Cam Roygaard, the support run into Tupai after a bit of a shaky start from making his way off the bench. He's made a couple great decisions in just the last couple of minutes, but they were just running 2 sideways there. Straightening run from Quinn Tupai changed it around. And here we go again, says Len. All Blacks are a credit to their nation. They are clearly going through a bad patch. Still remain competitive, says Stephen. And also it'll be interesting if Australia win Quinn Tupai the ball carrier. And that one is definitely not held up. Didn't touch Cam Roygaard at all there. The Australians, Roygaard's back. And New Zealand, let's go. Oh, okay. Damian McKenzie. Okay, I thought for a second they were going TMO there. I just had to wait to find out. But McKenzie gets it over. And that is going to make it now a little bit more one-sided. 9 points the difference again here. And thank you, Roygaard, says BK. But 2 tries for Roygaard. That has been the difference. He was telling the crowd to shout and cheer for him. That is risky to hold the ball in one hand while doing that. Last thing you want to do is end up dropping the ball. And the sun ran out with Roygaard in 2003. Or my son ran out, sorry. Says Joe. But the ball now retained by the Wallabies again, although knocked on by Lonergan. And New Zealand have got themselves the scrum feed. 4 minutes remaining. Can I get some honest feedback on this ref, unbiased? Says Kyle. I think that referee Andrea Piardi always is quite pedantic at times, but, you know, from watching it live, Australia had that little patch where they were just making some poor choices in terms of going in from the side of the breakdowns. The first half, they were a lot more clinical. They made the better choices, whereas second half, it almost seemed like there was a little bit of desperation there. He's had a couple rough calls, but I don't think it's been the big difference in this game in terms of what the result sits like. But Cam Roygaard being taken off the field now, and that is going to be for Cortez Ratama, so no opportunity for getting that one. Ref has been even, just strict. Yeah, very strict in those breakdowns. We haven't really seen too many breakdowns that haven't had something in them. Sort the scoreboard out and the clock. Says Floyd King, it's an online scoreboard, so we'll update in due time. Currently 3.5 minutes remaining. And the ref was great. He wasn't a Barnes, says Pepe. Okay, there's no space in the scrum, says Piardi, so we are going to have a reset now. What's wrong with all these refs? They all blow bad. They don't know the rules, says Antonio. Well, the best way to fix that is to become a referee yourself, you know? Like, there are a lot of people who feel like they do a better job of refereeing the games from their couch than the referee does out there on the field. So the best way to do it is to become a professional referee and then right all the wrongs that these referees are causing. And keep scoreline as it is now. Says Brett, it's obviously been the difference in the match. Don't be like the media. We've got eyes. Says Burst Media in there as well. Yeah, but the penalty count's been pretty even. So, another penalty this time at scrum time for the feet going out from underneath the Australians. I also think that Australia, sadly, their handling has let them down in the second half. In a time where they've been so dominant in the last 20 minutes, they just haven't done that here. We have got there, who's lucky I didn't bet on Oz to win, says Nas. That one's going to be kicked into touch by New Zealand, only 5 metres out from the line. Tell you what, New Zealand might be chasing a bonus point now. If they can get themselves a try here, they'd have 2 minutes to try and chase just the one more. Good call, bro. Hamish says Ronnie. And thank you, All Blacks. Just won $200 from the Bot fan base, or fan boss. And we need referee, says Dave there. Now ready to throw this one in. What is all the ref crying? He's been as good as they got. Aussie's discipline terrible this half, says Jimbo. Now throwing this one in. Sebasoni Tolkiaro nicely taken. Simon Parker goes to Savia, 5 metres out from the line. New Zealand chasing that bonus point. They have not got it yet, as they would need 3 or more tries than their opposition, which would bring 2 more throughout this final 2 minutes to get it. To Mighty Williams, diving pass, going to McKenzie, who has to go back and grab it. Beautifully picked up by Damien McKenzie with a straightening run as he is clobbered by Harry Wilson. Ratama goes off to Proctor. Now, Geordie Barrett off to the left-hand side again for to Mighty Williams. Wangamosa. Now to the left again, finding Geordie Barrett. Another offload. Ratama goes to McKenzie. Tui Pilotu with a big step. Now just 100 seconds remaining. Peter Larkai getting a little bit isolated on the far side. And Piatti breakdown interpretation needs work. Thanks for the commentary. You're awesome at it. And also, I talk about paying off the ref. Says Mitch there, if you disagree with the ref, become a ref. Good idea. Says Rob, exactly right. There are potential opportunities. In fact, referees are a dying breed because of all the abuse that they get online. So if you don't mind getting abused, go to the referee school, get some training, and we'll see you in the international game. Nice step from Will Jordan, almost managing to find his way through. Ratama off to McKenzie. Pop pass, and it was forward from McKenzie to Tupaia, which brings us to the last 40 minutes of this contest. Australia will have themselves to scrum about 20 metres out from the line, and that is where they will have to go pretty much the full length of the field to be able to get themselves the try. And that will get them within 7. Difficult to pick a man of the match. I think Cam Roigard I'd probably end up giving it to for this game. Savia's had some solid moments, but I think Roigard's difference that he's made throughout this game is absolutely massive. The ref made many errors in this game and swung momentum. Not a good look, says it was there from LB. Now we have got their big week next week. No excuse, consistency. Well done to the All Blacks for holding off despite paying the ref, says Mitch. Why do dummy spitters always resort to blaming the ref? It's the easier option, But at the same time, referees do also make mistakes. And Piatti's made a couple of them today. New Zealand's made a fair few. Australia have made a fair few. But it's much easier to look at one guy with a whistle than it is to look at a squad that came into this game potentially with a really good shot of being able to win this game. We have there, All Black says JE, there is going to be the knock-on advantage. In fact, it may even be a penalty advantage. No, just the knock-on. It is 40 minutes, you said, says Mahadim. What are we talking about? And we have got there go the All Blacks. Little kick attempted in behind. Jorgensen now knocks it on. New Zealand kick it into touch. And they will keep the Eden Park streak alive. Australia defeated 33 points to 24. Suaalii, massive hug for Ardie Savia here. It's a big physical type of matchup between these two sides with neither wanting to budge. But in the end, the Kiwis managing to pull off the victory. They will now move to number 1, the Rugby Championship standing. Cam straps the goods. And also wherever their sad match, says Dixon. And also wherever they do Tui Pilotu off the bench is strong, as well as Larkai. Yeah, both of those two did extremely well in terms of being able to stop that late Aussie comeback, because we've seen it time and time again. 57 points for Australia throughout the last 20 minutes of all of their games in this Rugby Championship. In this game, they still managed a little bit of the fight back. They managed to score the one try throughout that period, but that would have to be close to the lowest that they have scored throughout a final 20 minutes throughout this whole rugby championship. And what does the table look like? New Zealand moved to first on 14 points. Australia do not get the bonus points, so they remain on 11. And then it is South Africa in third on 10, Argentina on 9. And Brock, the experiment is over, says Sunny. And we have got there, thanks mate, love your work, says Rian. And Eden Park Fortress holds. We got a shake, and I thought it was going to be Alice Park all over again, says Jake. And the ABs no longer have the aura. And also, thanks for the stream, good work, says Dion. It's not a victory. New Zealand under pressure clearly paid a pathetic ref, says Burst Media. Geez, the referee's really not liked. I know he's already not liked in the URC, so sadly, Piatti doesn't seem to be able to go anywhere without getting a little bit of stick. And good to see the overconfident Aussies getting beaten, says John. And Super Hamish says Freo. And stop saying, we pay the ref every time we win. The thing is, though, New Zealand don't have enough money to sack their coach, so how are they going to afford to pay a referee? Remember Ian Foster? They couldn't sack him because they had no money. New Zealand Rugby lost about $23 million last year. So unless he was doing it for a Big Mac and maybe a KFC Wicked Wings combo, he's not getting paid by New Zealand at all. We'll get the good stuff, Hamish. You earned yourself a cold Steinlager. Says Jake Dan. Thanks for the top commentary, says Don. And also you're there. The box already ready to complain about Angus this afternoon. Hello, says Trevor. Welcome in. Hope you're doing extremely well. All Blacks forever, says Trevor there. And where's the ref from? He is from Italy. We're broke as hell, says Dominus. I love watching this guy, says Jenna. This is back-to-back losses to the Aussies. Yeah, it's something that doesn't happen too often throughout this rugby championship. Definitely with the fact that it's been one win, one loss, one win, one loss. The way that the whole competition has gone. Old Fozzie says Nars Williams. And we have there, New Zealand don't have enough money to keep Reagan Robertson. Are losing more. And they play paper, scissors, rock with the referee and he lost. That's more likely than the payment thing. I do a quarter pound of meal in Samoa is like $40. That's expensive, you know. It's going to break the bank. How they lose 23 million, just not making enough money. Plain and simple. But yeah, it was their worst financial loss year in ages for the Kiwis. And we have got there bad. All Blacks, oh my God, says Riss. And how long to go? The game is now over. Hopefully the scoreboard will, there we go, has now updated itself. But the meter's made. New Zealand had a few more turnovers conceded. Australia did well in that department. They did lose one of their own lineouts. New Zealand were 15 from 15 throughout this matchup. Now we have got the the box says, bro, that's a bit rough. What did they do? Now we have got the ref. Did you good, hey? Says Sanelli there. And did the ABs get a bonus point? They did not get the bonus point from this game. They just got the victory. So it actually benefits South Africa much more than if they had. And also it benefits South Africa more than if Australia were to win this game. Because now the Rugby Championship is wide open for the box to be able to take it out. We have got the Springboks versus Pumas. It's hopefully a nail biter too. Says it was there from Kiwi. And yeah, that game taking place only in around about 7 or so hours time, I believe. Strangely, when Kiwis tell South Africans we pay the ref, we explain we just don't have the money. They don't seem to understand that, says Paul. Okay, there, thanks, Hamish, says Peter. And All Black says Jacqueline there. And I heard Joe Schmidt was in the 20s. And also we have there, hi Hamish, from Craig there too. Hope you are doing extremely well. But nonetheless, we are at the end of this contest, ladies and gentlemen. New Zealand 33, Australia 24. And like I said, South Africa is now in the box seat for being able to take out this Rugby Championship. Bowden Barrett with a sling on his arm. That's not good news for the Kiwis either. Roygard is easily better than Dupont, says Lyle there. And also South Africans smiling big time, says Brett. Yeah, the ones who aren't disappointed about the refereeing, who have done the maths, have worked out this is actually the better result for their Rugby Championship hopes. Because when you look at it here, Australia, had they won this game, they would have increased their points differential and sat on 15, which would have added pressure for South Africa to be able to go back-to-back up against the Argentines with bonus point victories, because you work on the theory that Australia in Australia would have a better chance of beating New Zealand than they would have at Eden Park. So this, for the sake of South Africa's hopes of winning the Rugby Championship as well as Argentina, was the best possible result. New Zealand to win, other than the draw of course, but for New Zealand to win without the bonus point. And Australia to also not receive a bonus point. So the best case scenario actually happened. But I don't think people realise that. Are you commentating on South Africa versus the Pumas? What time? We are going to be doing an hour build-up for that match. So we are going to be starting that one, I believe, South African time. It will be, I want to say it will be 4:10 New Zealand time, or actually 4:15, I believe, will be the time that we do start up that one South African time. Before that, we have got New Zealand versus France for the Women's World Cup bronze final. We are going to be covering that one on the channel. Is it a bonus point win? It's not. No bonus point for New Zealand here. So they only get the 4 points from this game rather than the 5. And I'm South African, and I can say to Pont, it's on another level. And don't write off Argentina. I'm a South African. And the duplex in Durban can pose very challenging as Argentina's a very well-drilled team. And also we have got their Artie's career is nearly over. Well, to be fair, he's getting older. That's kind of how rugby works. When you get older, you do normally retire. But he's still got a little bit of time left. And Amadi Savia, Springboks need a bonus point now, says Dwayne. I mean, they were going to need it anyway, though. And if Australia had won this game, they were going to need probably 2 bonus points to take out the Rugby Championship. As he's saying the box bribed the ref then, I am not saying nothing of the sort. And we have got there, why did McKenzie kick the ball out? I think it was because they couldn't gain anything other than points differential from that one. They knew that Australia could gain a lot more by getting that losing bonus point than New Zealand could by getting 1 more try, because they would have needed 3 or more than their opposition. That would have only given them 2 more. Rasi is now busy recording a 2-hour complaint video. Today's loss against the Pumas, says Reggie. And also, we have got there, I love this ref so much, says Petrus. And also, not a convincing win. Not at all. I think that both sides definitely weren't quite on their A game for that second half. In fact, it did all fall apart. First half was extremely competitive. And honestly, both sides playing some phenomenal rugby. Oh yes, of course, New Zealand, I forgot about this. They actually retained the Bledisloe Cup because they cannot go on to lose it from here. So it does mean that they will have that trophy in the cabinet. We have got the, I hope they chew up the box. And I'll say, Hamish, the Springboks win today. Well, their chance of winning the Rugby Championship, extremely high. In fact, higher, I would say, than any other side. The All Blacks celebrating that one. Adi Savia still bleeding a little bit from his eye. How many penalties in that game? I think I'll get you the exact number. One moment. Results and fixtures. But it was a fair few, about 25 throughout the match, I believe. We go discipline. In the end, 15 against Australia, 10 against New Zealand was the end count. And Australia had that 1 yellow card. And South Africa here, the Wallabies got effed up by the ref in the second half. What a shame, says Kuru. Although, like I mentioned, in the maths department, that benefits South Africa drastically for their chances of being able to win this Rugby Championship. As if the Aussies had got this, it would have forced more pressure for South Africa to get bonus point victories rather than just winning their contest with their impressive points differential at the moment. Away 1 game for the Bledisloe Cup. It is 2 matches, but with New Zealand winning the first and them holding the trophy, they can't lose it. It sucks that it's no longer 3. The Box lose. Australia will give ABs hell of a game next week, says Jimbo. And can New Zealand win the championship? They can if South Africa do somehow butcher it up against Argentina. But I don't see it happening. But at the same time, this Rugby Championship has been so confusing. Why South Africans complaining, says 9HD. It's a good question. I mean, at the end of the day, they probably did want to see the Aussies get themselves that Eden Park streak, I would assume, is the reason behind it. As fans of the game, we deserve better refs, though. It's too strict on the breakdown, says Lyle. So Aussies haven't had the Bledisloe in decades. They haven't had the Bledisloe since about 2003. I think was the last time that they had it. And we have got there. Thanks for the commentary. You're awesome. For those who bought to see live, says All Black, and we are going to be back for that next game of the Rugby Championship. Alongside that, we are also going to have the matchup of the Women's World Cup bronze final, New Zealand versus France. That one kicking off in around 3.5 hours' time. That one's going to be covered too. So be sure if you haven't already hit that subscribe button. But thank you all very much for tuning in. Can Argentina win? They would need 2 wins to be able to do so and need Australia to win in Perth next week. But thank you all very much for being here. And I will see you all for the next one.